So, we've got a really awesome presentation planned for you guys today. We're going to be talking about an off grid community that my business partner, Patrick, and I have been developing over the last 20 months, 18 months. I'm not even sure how long it's been. Before we jump into the presentation, a couple of housekeeping things for everybody. What I want you to do first and foremost is take your phone and put it on mute. Okay. I don't want anybody getting phone calls or getting interrupted. No doom scrolling or going through social media while we're on today's presentation. We got so many things to cover and I want to jump straight in because it's going to be a very, very busy day. So put all of that aside. Number two, if you have a spouse, a decision maker, a significant other, and they're in the other room, go and grab them, bring them over. They're going to want to watch this presentation. I promise you, there's going to be a lot here. And because we're live this morning, there will be some things that you want to see live that you're not going to want to watch later on or a recording or try to explain a 3-hour presentation to your spouse in about 4 minutes. It's not going to make sense. You're going to sound crazy. So best to just go and get them, sit them down. Number three, we will schedule in a washroom break in about an hour from now. So just take your seat and we're going to do the presentation and then we'll have a washroom break, a bathroom break there. And then we'll jump back in for Q&A afterwards. I think that's a pretty standard housekeeping from me, Pat. Do you think I missed anything?
I don't think so. Can you hear me okay too?
I can hear you perfectly. Excellent. So Pat, I think if you want to go ahead and load up your slides, just quickly from my side, everybody, this is Patrick Hiebert. He is a fellow Canadian and my partner on the Veritas project. He's been down here for 19 years, something like that in Latin America, building communities. So he has a ton of experience. So when I decided to partner with somebody on this, I wanted to make sure that I had someone who really, really knows his stuff. Also, as a side note, he also happens to be one of my closest friends. Him and his wife are godparents to my children. So I know him very much on a business level, on a personal level. We spent a lot of time together. He's literally one of the most trusted human beings in my life. So we're going to cover a lot in today's presentation. Pat, I'll go ahead and turn off my video and my microphone. And I'm looking forward to it. Let's do it.
Sounds good. Thank you for the introduction, Mikkel. It's always great to have this show. And this one's, this presentation I think is going to be extra special. This is really the official launch of Veritas Village Coronado here in Panama. I'm here at Veritas Village. I'm in the Welcome Center, which was a heritage building that we decided to keep. Initially, when we came and found this property, I'd probably looked at, Spencer and I had probably looked at 40 or 50 properties and just overwhelmed with, none of them really checked the boxes, but this one did. And we knew it when we saw it, that this was the place that the community was going to go. And one of the cool things about this community is it has a couple old heritage buildings that were built out of all the materials on the property. The lumber was milled here. The rock was collected here. The bamboo is, I'm sitting under a bamboo ceiling that you can sort of see a little bit of in the kitchen there. And that was all from here on the property. So that's where I'm doing this presentation from, through Starlink, high-speed internet, totally off-grid. The Welcome Center here is 100% off-grid solar system. And, we have all the luxuries, couple fridges and freezers and flat screen TVs and air conditioners and everything. But anyway, that's the setup for where we're at. And hopefully you can see my screen clearly. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about who we are as Eco Villages and what Veritas Village is. That's our branded communities. And why create a community like this? I think most of the people on this call are probably somewhat like-minded, kind of freedom-oriented, libertarian style, that type of person, and this is a community for you. And we're going to go look at the master plan for the community and some of the amenities here in the community that are going to be developed, as well as things around the area. And I have quite a few slides on home sites and home models, and I'll spend a little bit of time in that just to give you an idea of the kind of homes that we design. But you're welcome, if you want to live in this community, you're welcome to design your own home or take one of our designs and modify it. And then we build that for you. So we'll just keep moving along because there are quite a few slides, and hopefully, it remains interesting for you. As Mikkel said, my name is Patrick Hiebert. I'm one of the founders with Spencer Hiebert, my son, of the Eco Villages company. We're actually going public with that company in a little while, and we'll do a whole nother presentation on what that means to allow us to expand our Veritas communities faster. But I've been doing community development for a couple of decades now, as Mikkel mentioned, coming down to Latin America since the 80s, but kind of making it a big part of my life starting in the 90s and then moving down here many years ago. And I've lived in Nicaragua, Belize with my wife, and here in Panama. And so, I really am enjoying creating these communities. And then when COVID hit, we really upped the game on the freedom-oriented communities, and we'll explain a little bit what that means. We also have Eric Vick as our COO. Strangely enough, myself, Mikkel, Spencer, Eric, and Don are all Canadians. Wasn't by intention to choose Canadians, but I guess we ended up meeting each other with the same like-minded concept on what we believe in. And Andrea is the sales director, and her and Sarita will be on the phones with you today if you're interested, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that is. And Don is our CFO. So what kind of community are we creating? We talk a lot about these Veritas Village communities that we're going to be, creating in multiple countries around Latin America. Next ones will be in Mexico, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Argentina. But this first version of it is here in Coronado in Panama. Coronado is about a little over an hour's drive from Panama City right now. They're rebuilding the freeway to Coronado, so that will shorten that drive a lot. But we're about 10 minutes out of Coronado, up towards the mountain, up the mountain in the Highlands. And our philosophy is pretty simple, summarized by an acronym FIRST, the FIRST philosophy. And FIRST stands for freedom, independence, resilience, sustainability, and transparency. And you can get an idea what that means. We're like-minded people that want to, when, for instance, when COVID hit, we were looking for places where, we didn't have to wear masks, where the economy didn't get shut down, you didn't get locked down in your homes. There was no vaccine mandates. So we're creating, it was hard to find countries, frankly. Panama was a little strange that way. Nicaragua was more freedom-oriented, but what we decided at that point was our communities are large enough to be towns, and we can because they're private communities, we can make them have the rules they want within the Latin American civil law countries. So nobody from the government is going to come into Veritas Village and say, you have to, you all have to wear masks or you have to get vaccinated or whatever. It's not like, I just remember in Canada going into churches and frankly, and arresting preachers and things. And it was ridiculous. And when we saw that sort of thing happen, we realized not only do we got to make nice communities, beachfront and highland communities down here in this area, but we need to make a sanctuary for people that feel that was ridiculous, a place for them to go. So that's kind of the philosophy behind the communities. Then there's, the basics, right? You need food, water, and shelter. And so we have a very self-sustainable community. We have community orchards and gardens, a tilapia pond, hydroponic gardens. We have a stream that runs through the property for year-round water, for irrigation. And we have a deep water mountain spring-fed well. Well, I have two of them actually. Very, very deep, really great water. We've been testing the water a lot. We're in the process now of building the water tower. The local health department here suggested up to 18,000 gallon water tank and tower. And we actually are building a 30,000 gallon water tank because we want to be very self-sustainable with excellent quality water. When it was tested originally, it was like, you guys should bottle this water. It's really good. And so there's, the food, and we're going to have, we have the stables here for the livestock, the smaller livestock. Larger, smelly livestock like pigs and cows will have a separate property for it to not be in the community, but still part of the Veritas Village community ownership. And on top of all that, those are the things that you need to survive, right? And once you've got that, then you've got your and the other thing is we're totally off grid, and I'll explain a little bit more about what that means too. But you also have to have fun, right? You have to have something to do. So we have a lot of amenities, and I'll talk about some of the things that we have here in the community. And it's really convenient. That's another hard thing to find when you're looking for, like, I have to look for these properties and where can we build these communities that check all those boxes. And one of the big boxes is it's easy to get to somewhere, but that has all the amenities that you want, like the beaches and the grocery stores and hardware stores and movie theaters and all those sorts of things, nice restaurants, but that it's far enough out of them to feel like you're still isolated from the busyness of a city or a big town. And Veritas Village here in Coronado fits all that, really checks all those boxes. So, like I said, why do we create this? I think, like I said, most of the people I think on this call are a little bit familiar with what we do. I recognize a lot of names in the participants there in the Q&A. It's great to have you back. And a lot of you already have reserved your property here at Veritas Village Coronado, and that's awesome. We really appreciate it. I noticed we're over 40% reserved. There's not a whole lot of inventory left of home sites to get. So we'll talk about that in a second too. But why do we create this? It's a place for freedom-oriented people to live among like-minded people. If you're kind of tired of the political divisiveness, being censored or canceled, being afraid to talk to your neighbors or even your family about what used to be logical things like freedom and doing your own research on vaccines or whatever the sorts of things have become taboo. My Facebook posts were getting canceled regularly if I used the word freedom. I was telling somebody the other day, I was testing it, right? I'd make a post, and if I used certain words, it would get through. But as soon as I said freedom, it was censoring it, and nobody could see it. And I was like, when did North America did it become, vulgar to say freedom? So I just get more and more frustrated with the woke mentality and the, all those sorts of things that are going on, the indoctrination of children in the schools. And it's just, we needed a place where you can talk about this stuff and not be canceled, have your neighbor roll their eyes like you're a conspiracy theorist or whatever. And it used to be, a smart thing to do your own research. And if somebody comes out with a vaccine that's been tested for a month, that's not smart. Right? That you can't tell when a vaccine is ready after a month. So, these are all controversial things to say, but not inside of Veritas Village, they're not. So if that kind of strikes a chord with you, that's the kind of community that we're making. And so we're creating an environment. The reason we make the self-sustainability, the homes are all self-powered with solar and wind systems. We're totally off-grid. Like I said, we have the water, we have the food sources, food forests and everything. And because we don't want to be reliant on big government and big corporations. And again, that might sound conspiracy theorist to some people, but when you start seeing the grocery stores in the US are bare, or certain things you can't get, excuse me, it gets concerning, and banks collapsing and holding your money in a US bank is a little nerve-wracking these days. So, you can't keep printing money and all the things that are going on and expect it to be reliable and to continue. It's just not sustainable. And even if, both in the US and Canada and many other countries around the world, we have people that have come from the reserve property here at Veritas Village from Italy, Germany, Netherlands, Scotland, France, New Zealand, Australia, Canada, the US, and locally here in Latin America as well. So people are from all over the world are having the like-minded thoughts, right? The more libertarian, kind of what are considered kind of old-fashioned thoughts at this point. And so, I think if you live in a community like this, you really enjoy it because you can sit and have a glass of wine at sunset with your neighbor in the welcome center or at the tilapia pond or at the restaurant and really just, say what you want to say without being censored. So the freedom part comes in a lot of pieces, I guess. Like there's different kinds of freedom. Financial freedom, obviously, if your home is basically off grid and it produces its own power and the community water, and we have all the fruit and vegetables that you can eat and meat and everything from the stables and the and the surrounding area. And we have a local farmers market inside the community every couple times a week as well. And that makes you have financial freedom. Like it's virtually where I'm sitting. I mean, we have some beautiful bedrooms here in the Welcome Center, and where I'm sitting, it's basically free. Right? I mean, the power is free, the water is free. I can go out in the mangoes. It's mango season right now, so I'm testing. We have hundreds of mango trees, I think, on the property, and lots of different varieties. So I've been a little bit of gorging on mangoes over the last couple of days here, but there's all sorts of papaya and it's just a great place for, not costing a lot to live. And then you have, the political freedom, the divisiveness is not here, because the type of people that want to live in a community like this, it's not that we stop people from coming into the community if they don't think like us. In fact, it's the opposite. It's like, encourage people to come in and be surrounded by people that can speak their mind. But, obviously you're going to be surrounded by a lot of like-minded people, because that's the people that are attracted to a freedom-oriented community. And then you have freedom from disagreements with your neighbors and your family, because you're here where other people, you won't agree on everything with your neighbors here, but it won't be like, if you felt like the vaccines were maybe not necessarily ready, that's not going to be a controversial thing inside this community. So that's what we mean by a freedom-oriented community, self-sustainability oriented community. And it's a beautiful, beautiful place. We're on, I'll wait. I'll show you the amenities and things in a minute. So we also are, a little bit advanced in terms of using Bitcoin or, certain crypto as currency within the community. We as a company accept Bitcoin for, if you want to buy a home site here with Bitcoin, we're happy to take your Bitcoin, USDT and some other cryptos as well. And we're doing something really unique. I think, I don't want to harp on this for too long. I've been on this screen for a while now. We got a lot of things to go through, but my experience in creating communities and in living in other communities is the HOA is always the center of angst. Nobody likes the HOA president because they can't possibly make everybody happy. So we came up with there's a thing called a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. And it's on the blockchain, just like Bitcoin. It's a blockchain related way of voting, basically, to put it in simple terms. And my background's in technology, so I was always looking for how can we make the HOA more fair. It's not electing a president and then that president is totally out of touch with people in the community and starts, people want a pickleball court, and we're going to have that anyway, but the president decides they're going to do something else. So they generally aren't the most popular person in the world. And frankly, we can, save the people from having an HOA president. So basically in a DAO, you would say, okay, there's these 7 things we want to vote on over the next month or the next quarter or whatever it is. And then it's a blockchain voting system where it's very fair, it's transparent, it's secure, all the things on a blockchain, on a proper blockchain. And then, you can set, 70% of the people in the community have to vote for it before it's passed. And those sorts of rules can be applied to it. But it's very, very fair. And at the end of the day, if you're in the minority that doesn't get what you wanted, you only have the whole community to disagree with. It's not one person that's an HOA where you can say, well, they just picked what they want to pick. And I think it's going to make living in a community like this much, much easier. Anybody who lives in an apartment or anything that has an HOA knows what I'm talking about. So the location, I mentioned already that we're near Coronado, or about 10 minutes out of Coronado up the hill. That's me standing on one of the, I think that's the restaurant point. So you can see the ocean from there. Distance to Panama City is 50 miles or about 80 kilometers. And like I said, there's a new freeway being developed. There's a lot of construction on it now because they're creating the new freeway, but in a few months, it looks like, I think they'll be done most of it. And it's going to make that a really nice trip between Panama City, over the Bridge of the Americas, over the Panama Canal, over to Coronado. And then we take a side road up the hill to Veritas Village. And, you're looking down at the ocean on one side and the Picacho mountain range on the opposite side. Picacho is the tallest of the mountains around this area, and we have really great views of it from many of the lots as well. And there's just so much to look at and so many things to do in this area. So it's really a heavily expatted area. Coronado was one of the first beach areas to be found, I guess, discovered by a lot of expats from around the world. So, it's kind of caters to expats with a lot of really great restaurants and like I said, hardware stores and grocery stores. I think there's 4 or 5 grocery stores. It's a town, but it's a pretty big town. I actually like shopping and doing that sort of thing in Coronado more than I do in Panama City, because everything in Coronado is so close together and I can get a lot done. And whereas in the city, I'm always running from one end to the other and with all the traffic there. So it's a great place to be near, because you have almost everything that they have in Panama City. We also have here in Coronado. So this is the master plan. There's a lot, it's kind of a busy map, but there shows the lots, it shows the orchards and gardens, tilapia pond. I don't know if you can see my mouse moving, but the tilapia pond is right here. So this is the main entrance through the gates here. And, you can see what we did. The roads might look a little eclectic to people, but there were so many beautiful trees on this property. The previous owner was a lady that was an arborist, and she brought trees from all over the world and tons of native trees as well. There's beautiful palms and coconuts and papaya and mango and bananas and all sorts of things. And so these were the farm roads that were on the property. And basically I put a GPS on the truck and drove around the farm roads and said, okay, we're keeping those roads. Now I gave the road plan to the architects and said, okay, let's make a master plan around this. And here's all the things we need in it. And I think they did a fantastic job. And the beauty of it is because the roads were already there, we didn't have to cut the trees. And so it's really a very natural setting here. Like I should have pointed the camera the other way, but I've got palms and our pool in the back here, the welcome. This area is a little more forested. I'm sitting here in the welcome center. And then as you go towards the creek, the lots become more jungle-like. It's a little bit thicker soil. The creek is the lowest point in the property, so the property goes down to the creek like that from both sides, as you can imagine. And so you get different types of terrain too. So it's really, really cool. It's like the whole country in one community. And we have the tilapia pond that I mentioned. There's going to be a little beach and volleyball courts and pickleball and tennis courts and those sorts of things. A little outdoor gym here. It's beautiful all year round. It's about 23 degrees Celsius right now. A beautiful sunny morning, very calm and comfortable. 23 is about, 74, 75 Fahrenheit. And so we've got everything. The welcome center here is obviously open to everybody. It's got a big deck. In fact, Mikkel, we had about 50 people here, I think, at one point had a lunch, and it was a lot of fun, and then walked around the property. And the stables are over here. They're already built. We're using what's going to be the music shop or music studio and woodworking shop. Right now is a stable. Whoops, let me go back there. As basically a storage for tools and machinery and everything that's going on right now. But that's going to be there in a bit. We have the creek that runs through the restaurant viewing area, which is over here. It's one of the nicest places because you can see almost a 360 view. You can see the Picacho Mountain, which is up at the top, and you can see the ocean, which is if you're looking towards the bottom. The sun rises about where the Veritas Village Coronado logo is and sets in the top left corner. So for perspective on how we're facing. But there's lots of different types of homes, and we'll show those in a minute too. But just to give you a bit of an idea here, the ocean views and that area is kind of within this blue. The red circles are the home sites that are already reserved, and I think there was 37 of them, I believe, was the number that are already reserved. There's some spectacular, all the lots, all the home sites are really, really nice. They're really beautiful. They're large, plenty of room to have your home plus a garden and orchard of your own. Of course, there's the community orchards as well. But, there's different sizes. We've got ones here that are in the middle here that are over an acre. And some of these other bigger ones here. And then, we've got smaller ones if you just want a tiny home, and we've got some options for that too. But these have really nice views on the top in the dark blue of what we call the Shire. It's a very lush area that basically looks like it's out of the Lord of the Rings. And, that's how we refer to it, as the Shire. But there's just so much going on in this, on these different lots that's why we want to allow you to have a first right of selection, but then discuss with us what lot would make most sense for you. So here's some of the home prices. I won't spend too much going through each one of them, but you can see it's kind of about $74,000 and up. The next lot page is, again, the ones that are sold are marked. You can see this when you ask for our brochure and the prices that are left on the available home sites. So we have the square meters. If you want to change that to square feet, you multiply by about 10.76 in a calculator and you'll get the square feet. But we have it in acres roughly as well. So one of the things that I was mentioning earlier is you can't just, buy a farm and cut it up into lots and call that a community. It doesn't create a community if it's just a bunch of people that never get together and don't know each other. And I think, the beauty of this, a lot of the community members have come through Mikkel and his group, have been to Mikkel's birthday parties, have been up here to Veritas, have hung out with us in lots of different ways. And I encourage you to become part of that family. It's a great, fun bunch of people. And, there's other things that go into creating a community. We're going to have an amphitheater here, our farmers market at the Creekside gathering spot. We have hiking trails. We've carved out a whole section of, I think about 5 hectares, which is probably about 10 to 15 acres for nature walks. And, there's kind of this rocky, craggy mountain area, and it's really pretty. And we have a restaurant. It's, like I said, on one of the views there where I was standing earlier in one of the pictures, and it's got ocean views, it's got mountain views. So it's, this big frontal area. And the weather is beautiful here all year round. So you can always grow things. You can always spend time outside. So keep that in mind too, when you're choosing a home. You're probably going to spend a lot of time sitting on your deck, or in your pool. And one of the reasons we chose basically a 250 to 300 meter elevation, or that's roughly 800 to 1,000 feet elevation. And that's because it's cooler than at the beach. It's not as cold as in the top of the mountains. And coming from Canada, I don't want to be cold. I got out of that for a reason. And so here, it's usually about 3 to 5 degrees cooler than at the beach in Celsius, a little bit more in Fahrenheit. So if it's 32, which is a hot day at the beach, it's probably around 27 here, which is a comfortable day. The beautiful thing about that is the plants love it. It's a perfect temperature for growing almost everything all year round. And it's great for humans and animals, and we love it too. And it's still warm enough to be able to use your pool, but not so hot that you don't want to hang out outside. So that was a perfect, reason, or the reason that we chose kind of this perfect elevation. And I did a lot of testing of the temperatures as in elevation. I literally drive the car up another 100 meters higher, measured the temperatures, another 100 meters higher, measured the temperatures, and did this over a period of months and got, seasonal differences, because I couldn't really rely on the local data for that, and found that this elevation at about 1,000 feet is pretty much the perfect sweet spot. So we were very lucky to find a nice, fairly flat plateau here in the mountains that's perfect for building sites and everything, plus has these amazing views, plus has a stream that runs through it and all these features. So that's why I say it kind of checked all the boxes. So there in the orchards, we're going to have pathways we're walking through. You can, pick your own fruit. What we typically do is the HOA has a few people working in the orchard so that they're maintained. And what they often will do is, like on a Tuesdays and a Fridays or something, they'll bag up a bunch of variety of fruit and vegetables, and you can just come and pick them up. as part of being part of the community. So technically, you would probably never have to shop for anything. We'll have chickens, we'll have eggs, and everything like that. We've already got the incubators and all that sort of stuff. So it's that it's going to be very pretty. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner the plans for the amphitheater, which is on the other side of the creek, and a really pretty area. Amazing views from there too. But you can have different speakers and music groups and things once in a while. And I'm guessing the restaurant will be used for weddings and things like that occasionally. So other people will be able to come into the community, but it's not going to be a busy thing. I mean, it is our own private community, and we can close the gate at any time. Like I mentioned, there's going to be a little music studio, a woodworking shop, and different things. So it's if you're into different types of hobbies, and the HOA, after we're done creating the community and creating all these amenities, the HOA is welcome to make additional ones. If the people that live in the community say, oh, you know what, it would be great to have I don't know, a pool hall or something to play pool. That'd be great too. We can make that. So like I mentioned, the tilapia pond, and some of these are just some of the amenities, the little volleyball court beside the tilapia pond in the sand. And I think I mentioned this already, but the food growing options are not only community orchards and gardens and the livestock, but your own yard. You can have obviously gardening and fruit orchards and whatever you like. And then we're going to have the vertical farming in our hydroponic gardens. And that's really cool here. The beauty of having the stream or the creek on site is we can take the water from upstream, which is very, rich in as it's been running through the ground, run it right through the hydroponic gardens and then right back into the stream again. So you kind of keep that water flowing through. The plants love it, and it's amazing. We've been testing a bunch of hydroponic growing versus growing in soil, and it blows my mind. It's like 5 to 10 times the speed that things grow in the hydroponics that they do in soil. I'm not even sure why that is, but that's what we found. So we're getting tomatoes and things like so quickly, and they're perfectly natural, so that we don't not spraying them with anything, and so it's very cool. Here's an example of what vertical gardens can look like, and the plants are just stuck in those holes, and in those troughs is basically the water that runs through from the creek, and it's great to have that on site. You can see all the benefits. They're very energy efficient. Obviously, the creek is producing the water that we don't have to do anything but run it through the pipes, and it's close by, so you don't have the transportation costs. It's right inside the community, so it's a lot of great reasons for that. Let me talk a little bit. I know it's probably getting a little long here already, but in a few minutes, we'll take a little bathroom break. But let me talk about the Coronado area, which is, again, when it comes to checking off these boxes, when I'm going around the countries and looking for where's the best place to create a Veritas village in each country, this one was, somebody said it to me the other day when they came and visited the site. And by the way, I don't think anybody that's been here at this point, there's one person, but I guess that's seen it has not reserved a home site. So it's a very spectacular and special place. And, the fact that Coronado, the town here, is an expat town with all the features and amenities it has, is so close, but still kind of distant. It's like 9 or 10 minute drive to it. So it's still distant away enough that you don't feel like you're in the town. You're well out of the town. We're in a farming community basically around here. But there's hospitals and clinics in the town. There's schools. Mikkel is going to have an expat school here on site as well. As I mentioned, there's malls, groceries, bunch of hardware stores. I think there's actually more than 3. It's 3 large ones, but I think 2 movie theaters now. The beaches, that's the other thing. I haven't even mentioned the beaches. There's so many spectacular Pacific beaches here within 15, 20, 25 minutes or a little further if you want to go out along the side. Because we're kind of facing, where I'm looking here, I'm facing the Pacific Ocean right now, and there's beaches that line it all the way along. So I know a number of people have got themselves a beach home as well, and a home here at Veritas. So this is where they want to live. It's more comfortable, the temperature and surroundings and the like-minded people, but they have their beach home, within 20 to 40 minutes of Veritas as well. And like I said, great restaurants. I still haven't tried all the restaurants in Coronado, but we found some great ones: Peruvian restaurants, Caribbean restaurants, Mediterranean restaurants, Italian. brand new Italian restaurant that's really good. A couple sushi restaurants. So it's got a mix going on, and they're all really high quality. And a great little thing for Canadians to know, there's the Rio Hato Airport. It's an international airport. It's about 30 or 40 minutes from here, actually right near Coronado. And it's direct flights from Toronto, which, you literally can go, if you're living in the Toronto area or anywhere in Canada, even Victoria. Spencer, my son, takes a flight direct from Victoria now on, I think it's called Royal Airlines or something, to Toronto, and then Toronto down here. Doesn't have to go through US Customs, doesn't have to go through Mexico Customs, nothing, just straight to Panama from Canada. So for Canadians, that's a really cool feature. It's seasonal, but it's a pretty long chunk of the season. And it's great. It's like nonstop flight from Toronto to within minutes of Veritas Village. So that was actually something we found after we acquired the property, and that's a huge bonus for Canadians. So these are some pictures that Spencer and I took while we were down at one of the beaches here. You can see like this one on the right-hand side is a pretty cool marble beach. It's got black sand and white sand, and it changes every day with the tides come in and move the sand around, and it makes a difference. So very cool. Lots of surfing done around this area as well. There's certain beaches that are better for surfing. Obviously, the way they're shaped makes the waves better for surfing. And then there's ones that are great for swimming, but it's also close by. You want to spend a day at the beach, it's easy. You're there in a few minutes and you come back home to Veritas in a nice quiet home in the evening. This is the Laguna de San Carlos. So I mentioned the Picacho Mountain. That on the right-hand side, that's actually the peak of the Picacho Mountain that goes up there out of the picture. And that's the highest point. And at its base is this really beautiful mountain spring lagoon. Locals and expats and everybody from tourists come there to swim. It's cold. It's cold water because it's up in the mountains, but the locals love it because it's hard for them to find cold water anywhere nearby. But it's a beautiful place, and there's a hiking trail. It's about 45 minutes from the lagoon up the mountain hiking. It's a pretty easy hike by hiking standards. And there's camping there, which is kind of cool. You can take a tent or a little trailer or something and go camping. And it's 20-minute ride from Veritas. Instead of going down to the beaches at the ocean, you're going up the hill to the top of the mountains. Here's some pictures of things that are in Coronado. I spent a lot of time in that Do It Center. It's basically like a Home Depot. And there's lots of different things in this kind of strip mall. And then there's a number of other malls, like I mentioned, like this. This one has the movie theater. It's got a Starbucks. It's got all the sorts of standard modern shops and restaurants. That's the Aeropuerto International. That's the one I mentioned in Rio Hato. There's a hospital in just outside of Coronado. This is Veritas Village images, beautiful spots. You can see like in the bottom right, the views of the oceans from some of the lots here, sunset. Lots of natural rock formations here that were originally volcanic rock from a long time ago. You can see this in the middle there. That's the Picacho Mountain at the back, and this is all Veritas property up here. That's our little Heritage Welcome Center kitchen that I'm sitting in front of right now, actually. We're restoring a couple of the original buildings are here just for the sake that they were cool because they were built with the timber and the rock here on site. And so this is the Welcome Center. Right now, like I said, the shop, we just got some heavy equipment for making roads and everything's underway, but renovating some of the little casitas that are around the Welcome Center as well. So they're cool little places for people to stay to if they want to come out and see the property. It's a possibility. This one, they're not quite done, but they're getting there. But we decided, we're not going to demolish them because they have a lot of character and, it'd be cool to have on site. So I'm getting into the homes here. I'll go through this fairly quickly because there's a dozen home models that we have. As I mentioned earlier, you're welcome to choose these homes. They're in a brochure. They have the prices as of today in the brochure, but you can also look at the floor plans and say, well, I'd like to modify it a little and maybe add a bedroom, or I'd like an outdoor space or palapa, or there's different things that you might want to change, and we're happy to have that done too. Or you can custom design the home yourself. The one thing is, we build the homes, because I have been doing this for a couple decades, and I've seen too many disappointed people that try to either have their home built by local building companies. They either try to manage that remotely, or even if they're on site, there's just not the same level of quality that you expect. And I'll just be blunt about that. And we want everybody in the community to be happy, and to be happy with their home and the amenities and the community. So our own construction company is building everything. We're very competitive. We check everybody else's prices. We don't gouge anybody. We're not trying to be control freaks. It's just, we know from experience after doing this for a long time that if we don't do the construction, there's a huge chance that you're going to be disappointed in how your home turned out. And if you've stayed in Latin America before, especially Central America, you'll see the paint is over the crown moldings, tiles that don't match up to the walls, lots of things that just don't look of proper, expectation of quality. Sometimes I consider myself the buffer between North American, European, Australian expectations and Central American delivery. So not to put anybody down, but it's just, this culture is awesome. It's very family oriented. It doesn't let their children become indoctrinated. It really is all about, friends and family versus career. But it's also different than the cultures that we're typically used to in North America or Europe, where, there's form and function. And in North America, for instance, it's kind of form over function. It's what things look like is as important as how functional they are. Well, down here, it's far more function over form. If you ask a local painter to paint your home, and he's kind of putting, the ceiling paint's coming onto the wall and everything like that, to him, it's like, hey, it's painted. It's, the function is there. It's protecting whatever you painted over. So it's functioning. It's just, it doesn't look good. So that's why we are very concerned about anybody else trying to build their own thing and being disappointed. So we've just kind of made that, we don't have hardly any rules in this community. It's freedom oriented, do what you like, but, just the only rule is, don't harm your neighbor. And so, but this is one thing that we just want to do just to make sure everybody's happy. So we do very efficient layouts. Obviously, we're making these homes completely off-grid solar. Now, I've been doing solar systems since the 90s. I know them extremely well by now. They have come so far. So if you have experience with solar systems 10 years ago, it's nothing like they used to be. They're, with the new lithium phosphorus batteries, they are amazing. The solar panels are so much more efficient. And we're creating one of the things that we've decided to do, which I think is great for the homeowners here, is because we've decided to go off grid and not rely on the local power. And by the way, the local power is not reliable, goes in and out all the time. It browns out, which is really hard on appliances, whereas solar systems are just, the inverters are perfectly sine wave inverters. They have constant power, constant regularity. They do not damage anything. And so there's that reason alone to go on an off-grid system, because it's perfect power. But the reality is, because we don't have to put in all the power lines, all the transformers, all those different things that you have to do when you're putting in, 240 volt power into a community, we've decided, okay, we're going to save X amount of dollars, and we're going to put that back into the homes in solar systems. And so we're putting base systems into every single home that we build. Will come with a solar system that, if you're a reasonable person, you will never lose power, and they'll have generator backups too. But, this welcome center that I'm in has 3 air conditioners, 2 fridges, 2 freezers. And, we run a lot. We're doing a lot of testing here too, because the technology keeps changing. It's like buying an iPhone or a laptop. You bought one, and then tomorrow a new one comes out, and it's like, wow, I'm out of date. But at some point, you're just going to bite the bullet. But, we're getting the latest and the best solar systems. They're amazing these days. I'm incredible. Like, even the pool pump is pumped with solar, and it's just incredible. The sun barely comes out, and the pool pump starts up. And so I'm really a huge fan of them. And because we can take that money that we saved on putting in the grid and put it into the homes to make them off grid, I think that's amazing for the people that are moving in here. And you're going to love it. If you don't live in a solar system or wind powered system home today, The battery banks run it through the night, right? So you don't run out of power at night or anything like that. But what's really nice is $0 power bill every month, nothing. Right? And they're very reliable. The panels are guaranteed for like 25 years. It's really cool. I just have to, say that is one of the most unique things about this community. I don't know any other community in Panama or even in the region of other countries around here that, is totally off-grid luxury. Well, most people think of like, I'm going to live in a yurt or some kind of cabin or something, and it's going to be off-grid. That's not it at all. We've got 4 or 5 bedroom mansions coming in here for some people that want those, and they're also totally off-grid. They'll have all their flat screen TVs and movie projectors and all that sort of thing. Well, I don't know, bowling alleys, whatever you want in your house, right? You can do it. Systems are built for that. So it's pretty cool. We obviously designed for natural cooling as well. We have beautiful breezes here. This is the calm part of the year. This is kind of when the weather switched over from, around May is when it really happens. The month of May when it switched from the dry season. I didn't really talk about the weather. The weather in Central America is pretty consistent on the West Coast, not on the Caribbean side so much, but on the West Coast. From early December, usually to early May, is extremely dry. And we also are in what's called the dry corridor here, and I'll explain a little bit about why that is. But those are the dry months. December, you can think of it Christmas to Easter. It's going to be dry. Sometimes it doesn't rain at all. And then around May, it switches over to the what we call the green season, the rainier season. But the rains are tropical rains. Like if you're from Seattle or something and you think of rain as 3 weeks of not seeing the sun, I'm here. It's a beautiful sunny day. It's the rainy season right now. You often get the rain at night, or you get at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. It's like a 15-minute tropical flash rain, and it's great. Refreshes everything, cools everything down, and then often the sun comes back out again. So I really like the weather. I like this time of year. Everything's extremely lush and green. But we're also one of the other boxes that check for Veritas Village is we're in this corridor, the driest corridor of Panama. So Panama is a thin country, and if you understand how Central America goes, you're going down like Mexico to Costa Rica, like Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and then it bends. Panama is a thin country that bends west to east instead of going north to south. And most of the weather, 95% of the weather comes from the eastern side, the Caribbean side. So the breezes are coming in that way. And they are, the Atlantic's warm, picks up a lot of moisture, but it hits the mountain range in the center of Panama and loses most of that moisture on the eastern side. So it rains a lot on the eastern side of Panama without a doubt. But when it gets to the western side, it's drier. And because we're basically sheltered by the tallest part of the mountain range here, like I mentioned, the Picacho Mountain behind us, we get the most shelter from it. So the or the clouds have to rise the most. They lose most of their moisture, and when they're coming down the west side, so we get, it's nice because Panama can be, a fairly wet country, and it's the reason that it's got jungles and all that sort of stuff. But here is a really nice little oasis in the country, and it's one of the drier parts. But like I said, Christmas to Easter is pretty much dry throughout the country. The other, from May or June to October, November is the rainy season. But don't think of the rains like, I used to think of the rains coming down from Vancouver in Canada. Like I said, you get a month without seeing any sunlight. It's drizzling and gray, and it's depressing. It's not like that here. You get, different types of rain. The rain comes fast. You probably get what we would get in a month in Vancouver, we get in an hour here in Panama. It can rain really hard. But, nice thing about the property we're on here too, it's got good drainage because it's, all sloped down to the creek. And the water, we do gray water recycling. Every home has 2 plumbing systems. You have your black water, which is your sewer water. It's the only thing going into that is the toilets. And that goes into what's called a biodegrader in the backyard. And that's in the ground. And it's got like 4 or 5 stages of processing, and the water that comes out can actually be used. Well, they tell you could drink it. I wouldn't do that, but you can use it obviously for watering your lawn or whatever. And then the gray water system is your sinks, your showers, those sorts of things, goes into a separate system, into a holding tank that it's really nice during the dry season because you can use that to water your lawns and things as well. And you're getting a second use out of that water. And the plants love it because if, you're showering with soap and shampoo and there's nitrates in that in the plant, it's like fertilizer. And somebody said, well, you don't really want to put that on your plants. And it's like, well, you put it on your body, so why wouldn't you water your plants with it? And they're going to filter through anyway. So that's part of the fertilizer converted So anyway, that's some of the interesting features of here. So let's go through some of the home models. I'll go through this quickly. I'll check the time here. Yeah, I'm taking up a lot of time. So let me go through these fairly quickly. The prices are on here as of today. Obviously, materials and labor changes, so they will change over time. But these are like we start with the smallest, the tiny homes. This one's only 400 square feet, $129,000. You can see it's kind of an open plan with your bedroom. Still has a queen bed. You could probably even put a king bed in there, but pretty cool designs. This one's been very popular in our community in Nicaragua, so we put it here as well. It's a 2-bedroom tiny home, and you don't usually find tiny homes that are 2 bedrooms. That's kind of, people think of tiny homes as a thing on wheels in the U.S. or Europe or whatever. And these are all concrete and steel homes. There's no worrying about termites or rot. That's something you have to worry about in the tropics. So we make these homes, so they'll be here hundreds of years from now, whereas you build a home out of wood, it will be here for 2 years. So, and we use wood accents, but special hardwoods too that are resistant, the teaks and the cocobolas and local woods that are resistant to rot. You can see the floor plan here in the bottom, the master bedroom. There's a king bed in there and the guest bedroom, kitchen. And, Andrea and I just did a little podcast from one of these homes in Nicaragua. So they're very cool. They don't feel like a tiny home at all. I really like this floor plan. These are starting to get a little bit bigger, still a tiny home, 600 square feet. Again, 2-bedroom. This one's getting up to closer to 1,000. The Cotinga is a popular home that people are choosing. 2-bedroom, 2-bath, really nice, look and feel to it. Little plunge pool that you can put in outside the bedroom. The pools are not included in the prices here, but they're fairly economical to put in, and you can always change the ones that, design of the pools too. And you can see the layout of any of these. This is all in the brochure, so I'm not going to spend too much time focusing on them. This is one of my favorite ones because it's got the catwalk on the second floor over to the deck out of the bedroom, and then netted on the side. Kids love that. I love to, get their sleeping bag and sleep on those nets over, at night. It's a cool place for kind of having a birthday party kids or something like that. And these homes are designed to take advantage of the views as well. Some of the features in these different homes can be put into any of the homes. This Rianita is a little bit larger version of the same kind of idea. It's got another bedroom put on the side with a larger deck, but also has that catwalk with the netting. This Azuejo, is also really popular. 3-bedroom, kind of has that cantilever deck out front. Again, great homes for when you're wanting to consider the views. Almost all the properties here have a view of something that's very pretty. It's either the ocean, the mountains, both, or the valley, or Veritas itself, which is all beautifully green. So that it depends on where you want to position your house and which way you want to face. But the reason we put a lot of glass and the kind of styles, the cantilever decks and things like that is because we want to be able to take advantage of those features. Then we also have some Spanish colonial, some more traditional Spanish homes. People really love these designs too. This is the driveway side. The other side is, actually quite a bit prettier. But again, we can see that in our brochures. The Quetzal is another one that's quite popular, similar to Azuejo. Again, a little bit bigger, but 2 bedrooms with bigger bedrooms. The Cana is another Spanish colonial style, 3 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, getting closer to 2,000 square feet. And you can see the back deck is big with pools and things that you can, and again, that is all different or extra. You can put in whatever you want. We have designs for fire pits, pergolas, the shade to sit, things that go to the pool. So there's lots of different options that you can put in. The Gavilan is a more modern West Coast design, 4-bedroom, 4-bath, over 2,000 square feet, and almost 1,200 or 1,100 square feet of outside space and decks and things. Toucan is a popular model. This is one of the larger Spanish colonial style homes. Standard is 3 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, but again, you can add to it if you wanted 4 bedrooms or whatever. And I think when you're seeing the prices, that for the quality of homes, brand new, architect designed homes, the prices are very good compared to what you certainly will see in most of, US or Canadian, European cities. In fact, I have a slide that Spencer put in at the last minute here because he was looking at it and saying, hey, I could get a multiple homes for the price of a home in Canada. The Aguila, which means eagle. These homes are all named after birds, by the way. I forgot to mention that. So they're kind of weird names. It's because they're Spanish names for birds from the local area. So here you're getting, much larger, 4 bedroom, 5 bath, almost 3,400 square feet. This one is, all one floor with the bedrooms all facing the front. This is probably one of the only homes that only fits on certain lots because of its width. And, it's a big home, has the indoor terrariums and all sorts of cool features. I did miss the one feature I like, which is a in cellar or a wine cellar that's in the floor with a glass top on hydraulics and a spiral staircase that goes down into it. So those are the kind of features you can add to any home, but that's one of my favorite. My home's definitely going to have that. And by the way, Andrea and I have a home here, or are going to have a home here too. We've selected our home site as well. You can see on the Aguila floor plan, all the bedrooms are facing out to the deck and over the view. So as I mentioned, you can customize your home, put in different things and make it. I mean, you're one of the reasons that we promoted tiny homes down here for many years now is that you spend so much time outdoors, and the climate here in the Highlands is so nice that, like, I'm not going to be indoors at all today. After we're done this, I'm just going to relax on the deck or in the pool. And it's great because, the temperature is always nice. I've been down to this part of the world for 20 years, and I'm still so Canadianized that I sometimes look to grab a jacket before I'm going out. And you never need a jacket down here. I mean, you can wear shorts and t-shirt anytime, all year round, day or night. So it's really nice to be able to sit on your deck in the evening too. And it's, 25 to 27 degrees, high 70s, low 80s. And just relax, and you could all the way through the night. You could party on New Year's Eve all the way through the night without ever getting chilly. So, but you won't be that hot either. So it's nice. So like I said, you can customize your home. I think one of the things we're seeing a lot of is people choosing our home designs. Some people want to customize their own right from scratch, and that's great too. But a lot of our designs were made so that you can say, oh, this is great. I'm gonna just add this or that or delete that and that sort of thing. So Spencer threw this slide in the last minute. I haven't even really seen it yet, but it says average home price in California, $786,000. Average home price in British Columbia and Canada, just a little bit less than that. Veritas village home scenario. You could, if you want, you could get a, similar, the Cotinga home might be a similar model to what you would see in Canada. Depends on where. Vancouver Island, Vancouver, it's probably over $1 million for sure. But you literally can see that you can add up 3 different models of homes, a couple 2 bedrooms and a 1 bedroom. So you could have guest home. You could have your home and 2 guest homes and still be under the price of one home in the U.S., the average price of one home in the U.S. and Canada. And these averages, like, Spencer showed us there in British Columbia, it's really hard to find a home that's $730,000 these days. I went back there at Christmas time and, it was a teardown if you saw it under $800,000. So, it's a good time in my mind to take advantage of the market that is in different parts of the world right now that hasn't hit here yet. I mean, we're seeing capital gains growing very quickly here because there's an incredible number of expats moving to this whole region, but especially Panama, and so I've seen the, home prices really starting to go up in the last year or two after COVID, and people started flooding into places like this because they wanted to have a plan B to get away from wherever they're at. Maybe it's their plan A, maybe it's their plan B, but the homes are still, affordable. You can get a home for much less, price than you have at Veritas, but Veritas is a special place with quality built homes. 100% off-grid, all the features of self-sustainable food and water and everything. So it's not comparing apples to oranges, but comparing what you're getting here for the price is pretty amazing, I think. So this is where Mikkel always step in again with this slide. Basically, if you're interested, you can send an email to expat@ecovillages.life. And an email must include your name and phone number, because what's going to happen is somebody's going to call you back and just let you know, or get your credit card information, charge you that $2,500 deposit. When that goes through, your name is on the list, and that's it. If you don't live in the U.S. and Canada, we were testing our phone lines. Unfortunately, they only call U.S. or Canada. So if you don't live in U.S. and Canada, just send us a Telegram address for your account or number in the email, and we can contact you through Telegram. Or if you don't have Telegram, we can use WhatsApp. Telegram's just more secure, and we'll contact you that way. And the key is to be in contact now to reserve your spot in line. That's what you're doing here by contacting us today, and then we will roll into that next week. With starting Monday, we'll start setting up Zoom calls to walk you through more details of the home sites to choose. You don't have to choose your home right off the bat, but you do want to choose a home site because they are going to go fast. Like I said, I think for over 42% as of this morning, we're already tanking. So, Mikkel, did I cover what I needed to cover there?
Absolutely. And seeing so many of the new slides and the home models, geez, I'm so excited about this. Okay, so what I want you guys to do before sending an email, just do me one favor. I want you to go down to that Q&A box and put in there, if we did a good job today, if this looks like a good project, we spent the last 20 months putting this together for you guys. It has been an immense amount of work. If you guys like the project, if you think this is something that really speaks to you and you want to be involved in the Veritas Panama project, then what I want you to do is to go to the Q&A and type in "I'm in." Okay, in traditional expat money flavor, just type in there "I'm in." I want to make sure every time that we're doing this work, that we put all this time and energy and effort and money into a project like this, that it really speaks to you guys, that you guys like it and it makes sense, and this is something that you want to do. So if you're into the project, if you want to be part of the Veritas community, then I want you to go in there and type in "I'm in" for you, because this has been a lot of work, guys. It's been a ridiculous amount of work over the last 20 months. And I just want, while you guys are filling that out, while you're putting in "I'm in," I want you guys to kind of understand this a little bit. We did a webinar, Patrick and I, about 20 months ago, I would say. And we came to you guys with this idea about doing a Veritas project, that we wanted to do an off-grid community in Panama. Now, at that time, we didn't have a home site. We didn't know how big it was going to be. We really didn't know anything. Really, what we wanted to do was figure out, is this something that you guys were into? And on that one presentation 20 months ago, we had 44 people put up their hand and put down a first right of selection fee. And everybody has been very patiently waiting for us to do this. And we traveled all over the country. We flew all over the place. We drove, as Pat said, he visited over 40 lots, 40 sites to try to find. And once they found this one, they picked it up immediately. I didn't even get a chance to see it. Pat was like, "That's it. We found the absolutely perfect spot." So this is halfway up a mountain, 15 minutes from the beach, at this flat plateau. We've got, 55 acres, 56 acres, something like this, for building homes. There's going to be, depending on how many homes go on each lot, probably around 110 to maybe 120 homes will go up in this community. It's a gated community of like-minded people. And here's the thing that actually, Pat, you didn't really highlight, but I'm going to really hammer home right now, is the last 17 months, we've been working on our permits. And we got our permits, everyone. We got our permits. We got permission from the country, from the municipality, from the government to build the community. It is not a question of, is this going to happen? Might this happen? This is happening. It is happening right now. The roads are going in, the water tanks are going in, the solar is going in, the septic, all of these things are happening right now. We are fully permitted. It was an immense amount of work with the lawyers and with everybody, but we got it. So this project, this community is going forwards 100%. And what we want to know today is, are you guys interested? So go to the Q&A and type in "I'm in."
I think the reason
right,
the
go
reason I
ahead.
didn't mention the permitting, I guess, is because subconsciously I never want to talk about permitting again. It was 18 months every day, working with the municipality, working with the environmental, working with, there's so many different permits that you need to create a community. Now, admittedly, Panama and Costa Rica are the two countries in all of Latin America that are probably most careful about their environment and allowing communities. They don't want the scorched earth developer to come in and just knock everything down. And we're not like that. And it took a long time to convince them. But I think, it's been definitely worth it. And yeah, Veritas is a very special place. One thing there's questions coming up here. So if you want to go through them, Mikkel,
All right.
I know the
So
second
let's
one
just take a look in here, okay? Because I want to make sure, because you spend 20 months on something. I want to make sure that you guys are interested in this, makes sense for you. So Didar says it is a great project. Yeah, Jan Davis says, unbelievably good job, exclamation point. Daryl says, I'm in. Craig says, I'm in. Daryl, I think I did that one. Sandy says, I'm in. They already called me. Ha, ha, ha. Terry says, I'm in. Ken Tweed says, I'm in. Let's see. I'm in from Jan. David says, I shouldn't say people's last name. Sorry. David R. Yes, we reserved. We're in. Another I'm in. Kevin says I'm in. Greg, sorry, I got to squint here. I wish they made the text bigger. Nice job. I'm interested from Greg. Zach and Shay says I'm in. Incredible job from Rena. Fred says I'm in. Ken says excellent, an excellent project. I paid my $2,500 already. Jonathan says I'm in. Lee says this is a dream come true. I'm in! Exclamation! 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 Anonymous says I'm in. Someone says how close to the golf course. We'll get to those ones in a second. Tanya and Carl says I'm in. George says I'm in. Okay. I'm not sure I can read all of these. Martha says I'm in. I think we get I think I got it. Okay. Amazing. Pat.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate the fact that there's so many people saying I'm in. I'm looking forward to having you as neighbors. Both Mikkel and I and our families are going to live at this property as well and have homes here. It's rewarding to hear that, and I appreciate it because, it's a lot of work. We took quite a chance, right? Because when you want to build a freedom-oriented community, everybody thinks you're crazy, right? So, well, not everybody. Obviously, the people in this call don't think we're crazy, but it took quite a chance. And after COVID, it was really like we need to create a community like this for like-minded people to feel at ease. And I'm glad people are seeing it is that for them.
Monty says I'm in. Mark says I'm in. Karen says I'm interested! Exclamation. Okay, so what you need to do right now, super duper important. There is an email address there, expat@ecovillages.life. We're going to take a break in just a minute, but I want you to go to your email. I want you to copy and paste this one. Actually, to make it really easy for you, I will put it in the, where is it? In the chat, and I'm going to send it out to everyone. I want you to copy and paste this email address. Send us an email. Now, a couple super important things, please. Include your phone number, okay? You have to include your phone number because you're going to get a callback. So remember before I said turn off your phone? I want you to now turn on your phone and wait for a callback. Sarita or Andrea is going to call you right now. You're going to pull out your credit card and you can put down a fully refundable for, I think it's 2 weeks, deposit. Okay. It's not a deposit. It's a reservation fee. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay. This secures your place in line. All right. Now with your place in line, you're going to be able to choose your lot. The home you want to pick, the design, the cabinets, all of that stuff comes later. Right now, we want to know who's in and who's going to be taking which lots. These are the very, very important things. So in fairness, we're going to be doing it based on the reservation fee that comes in. And then as soon as that happens, then we're going to be able to send you a brochure, more information, the available home lots. Pat went through so much information in less than an hour in the presentation very quickly. So we're going to send you all of that via email. And then later you're going to jump on a call and choose which home model and everything right now. So just think email with your phone number, your full name. You're going to get a call back. You're going to make a reservation fee today, this morning, this afternoon, tonight, depending on how many people. We've had, I think this presentation went out to 20,000 people. We had hundreds of people live today. So there's, obviously a massive interest in this. So get in line, put your reservation fee down, and then throughout the week, you're going to be able to choose your lot. You're going to be able to talk to you. Do you want mountain view? Do you want beach view? Do you want a big lot? Do you want a small lot? All of these types of details will come afterwards. Okay. So send an email to expat@ecovillages.life, include your phone number, and wait for a call back from the team. Good. Pat?
Yeah. Somebody's telling me that we may have not received everybody's emails. I hope that's not the case. So we'll definitely go through our spam folders and stuff as well. But Mikkel, maybe you can check if you're still seeing the emails coming in.
I got an email 1 minute ago from Isabel and Darren they're all within the last minute or so. So, I mean, literally it's coming in real time, I think.
Okay, well, that's good. I think one of the folks on our side, their email box might be full. So. But as long as someone's still getting it, then we're good to go. Basically,
just keep emailing and keep contacting, and we will take care of everyone. Okay, so what I want to do now is take a 5-minute break. We've been on for over an hour now. Go use the washroom, get a fresh cup of coffee. I'm going to get another espresso. And in that 5-6 minutes that we take a break, you can also send an email. So Pat, why don't we go ahead and turn off our video, mute ourselves, and just leave that slide up for everybody so that they can copy and paste it. And we'll see you back here in 5 minutes, guys. Thanks. Hey, Pat, are you back, sir?
Yes,
I just got a message. Amazing. I just got a message from the team. They said the emails are storming in. I think that's a very descriptive term. They are storming in. I love that.
I guess the server was a little overwhelmed with everybody at once, but I'm glad that we're good to see we're getting your messages.
Absolutely. So let me see if I can make us a little bit bigger. I'll leave this one. Let me see. If I do like that, everybody, can you see us bigger and the slides a little bit smaller? I want to leave that email up so everybody knows where to go. Okay, so in this next section, I'm just thinking more for the audience. I think that we get to control our own, but I'm not sure. Okay, so in this next section, what I want to do is have a chat with you, Patrick, a little fireside chat, and discuss a couple of things of the project that I think are really, really important and that I want people to know and understand. While we're chatting, everyone, what I want you to do is in the Q&A, I want you to start filling out questions, okay? Anything that you're thinking of, things that didn't make sense, things that you want to discuss or you want answers to, please let us know in the Q&A, not the chat, not the raising hand, the Q&A box, okay? And I'll stay on with Pat for as long as we can to try to get through as many questions as humanly possible, because always for me, it's super important that you guys get your questions answered. We're always as transparent as humanly possible with you. We want to make sure you guys get your answers. Now, Pat, I want to understand a little bit, or maybe you can talk to us a little bit about when people have time to build their property. Let's say that they send us an email, they include their phone number, they make a reservation today, throughout the week, they select the lot. Do they have to build their house today? Can they take a bit of time? Talk us through these types of things, even how long it takes to build a house. Let's get some context here.
Sounds good. Yeah, and actually, sorry about that. I forgot to mention the construction period that we have. So basically, when you're creating communities, well, let me back up a couple decades. One of the first things I noticed about resorts being built or communities being built, anywhere in the world, not just Latin America, is that there was a lot of speculation on the lots, right? So people would go in and say, okay, I think this community is going to be cool. I'm going to buy a lot. and I'm just going to hold it and I'm going to flip it in a year or two, and I'm never going to buy a house. And then the next guy is going to buy that lot and never buy a house or build a house. And then what you find is you don't have a community. You don't have anybody living there. You just have a bunch of people speculating on lots. So in order to avoid that, because we're building a community of like-minded people here, we want people to have homes. They don't have to live here all year round. They can rent out part of the time, or do whatever you want. Use it yourself, full time, whatever your plan is. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C. That's fine. But so what we've implemented is a 2-year construction start period. So basically, you have 2 years from the date of acquiring your lot to start, not finish, but start the construction of a home. And if something comes up in those 2 years, and we're at the 20th month or something, and you say, hey, I still do intend to build my home pretty soon, but I'm not going to be able to start for whatever reason, financial reasons or something, within the next few months. We're reasonable people. We'll be flexible, and that's not meant to hold a gun to anybody's head. It's just that we are trying to create a community, and that is the goal. So when you acquire your property on the contract, it states that you have two years, 24 months before you have to start to build a home. It's difficult to answer the home construction timing, because in terms of how long it takes to build a home, because they're all different sizes. Obviously, the tiny homes, sometimes they can be done in 6 months, but larger homes, you can probably expect about 10 months to 14 months, somewhere like in the order of a year. And that's because we're wanting to make sure everything's of high quality. The finishing takes a long time. These are concrete and steel homes, and they're not like a stick frame home that you're used to in North America, where that framing goes up in like a week, and it takes a while to pour the quality of concrete and everything like that. So that's the general time frame.
Amazing. Yeah, I think that it's very important to understand that there's no snow here. So we're not dealing with frozen ground or anything like that. We can basically build year round. We do have a rainy season. So we want to try to do certain things at certain times, but we're motivated to get these houses done. And I think 10 to 14 months for such a quality luxury home, I think is completely reasonable. And as Pat said, you've got roughly 2 years to select the home model and start building. But talk to us. And if there's any problems, we'll work with you. We're business owners. We're entrepreneurs. We want everyone to be happy. But we don't want this as a ghost community where people are buying 10 lots. Like, I have lots of projects that I do where clients come in and buy 10 units or 5 units in an apartment complex or a condo just as an investment, and then they'll rent them out and sell them, flip them, things like that. That's not this. This is a lifestyle community for people who actually want to spend time here or want it as a plan B in case things go bad in your home country. You've got a safe place to come. This is not a speculative investment or anything like that. We do want people who are really interested and philosophically aligned with us. So that is different than just a normal investment. So that was one of the main things. I've got 3 screens in front of me, everybody, as well as the chat and the Q&A. So I'm kind of monitoring. I've got Telegram going from the sales team saying, holy moly, like so many emails are coming in. And then I've got the inbox and then all of these things. So if you see me looking around like this, it's because there's a lot of interest and it's a little bit hectic here at Expat Money HQ. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about, Pat, is more about the property itself. You quickly showed the map. Maybe we could go backwards, find that map, and let's talk a little bit through the available lots, or the lots that were available at the beginning of this presentation, let's say, because obviously the map is going to have to be updated after this presentation. I know it's way back at the beginning, but I want people to understand where the views are, which direction it's facing, the topography, the ridge line, these types of things. These characteristics of the property we purchased itself are unbelievable. And when you look at the map, you might not get a lot of those details on a 2-dimensional map. Also, I won't say my lot on this live presentation, but let's just say that if you become a member of the community, you will know which one I bought. And I was the absolute first person to buy a lot here. I got the absolute first pick of the lots. And that's because I will have my family house here. I will have a home of my own in this property because I believe in it so much. And Patrick will, and Spencer will, and all of our people. I have staff members who want to buy in as well because the project is just so unbelievable. Okay, so we've got the map up there. Why don't you talk us through it a little bit more detail, Pat?
Okay, so the bottom is facing towards Coronado. The top of the map faces towards the mountains. So when you're coming up the road from the bottom here, this is the road. It's a small road. It's paved, but it's barely 2 cars wide. It's not a heavily used road because it dead ends in the mountains. So it dead ends at that lagoon image that I showed, the little pristine mountain lagoon. So people do go there for camping and once in a while on the weekends and stuff like that, but it's not a heavy transport road. There's a little town above us as well, but there's not a lot of traffic along here. But the nice thing is it's paved, and when it comes to checking boxes, that's another major one. If you want to be able to get somewhere in the rainy season, it pretty much needs to be paved. So this is the main entrance. And that ridge, the ridge line is kind of along the road, right? The reason the road is there is it's driving lower than our property, quite a bit lower. And down here in this corner, it's probably 100 feet below. So our properties here are 100 feet above the road. So you're looking well over the road. You're looking over any houses or anything that are down below here. This is the edge of our plateau. There's a cliff here, basically. Not too sharp, but it drops off very quickly. So these are considered what we sort of consider the ridge lots. And they obviously have the great views facing towards the ocean. And as you get internally, these also have great views, especially you have like a 2nd story deck or something like that inside the pink area here. And, despite the fact that they're not right on the ridge, you can still, like from lot, I think this is 19 here. I don't have my glasses on now, but from lot 19, for instance, you can see, definitely view corridors is what we call them. So if somebody builds a house here and somebody builds a house here, there's still plenty of view between the homes and above the homes, depending on what kind of homes are built from a lot of the lots. So a lot of them have, great views. And this, this area is, so I would say kind of up until the edge of the yellow here is more forested. And then on that right side of that is more jungle. Like up here, you have the deciduous kind of trees, like the avocados and things like that, and different kind of trees that are typical leaves that we'd see in North America or Europe or Northern Europe. And as you get down towards the creek, there's palm trees and bananas and things like that. So it's an interesting change as you get towards the creek, and it gets a little bit more lush soil down here. If you're really into gardening, being close to the creek is good because your soil is good. Then at the top in the dark blue, these lots were a little hard to get at originally, and we've just cut this road in now. So now you can see how nice they are. And that's one of the reasons why they weren't reserved earlier, whereas this side was always easy to get to. These have the mountain views, and well, I would call these more, they got mountain views, but what more shire views. Like there's kind of rolling hills up to the north, or to the top side of this. And, you're looking at the hills, and then the hills kind of block the taller mountains behind them. So it depends where you are. As you get more to the right here, on the other side of the creek, you can see a little higher. These are a little bit higher, so you see over some of the hills, but the hills are beautiful too. And from in here, you're looking back towards Veritas, a little bit towards the ocean. This area where the word legend is actually a bit of a hill, so you don't see the ocean as much from here. But there's, I was just standing on, I think, lot 87 yesterday, and this area has some nice building spots, and you can just see a kind of a peekaboo view of the ocean. These lots here are obviously very large. And then one other feature to note, this line along here is also another ridge. So these smaller lots are not that small, but they're smaller than the huge ones. These lots along here are up, they face, I would suspect you'd build your house facing to this direction towards the mountains. And because this is a drop off here, none of these things, you don't even see these lots. They're in a valley below. So these are excellent lots for view lots as well along here. Now, because of where they are, they have very specific kind of building sites on them. You kind of have somewhat limited choices to where, unless you want to spend a lot of money building up the foundation. But in order to make it reasonable, there's certain places where you'd want to put the lot or the home, but they're still, they're great. And, that's another reason why this one here is probably not spoken for yet. Your building site is here, but then you have all this land in front of you that's kind of like a little ravine. It's very pretty and has great views, but it's a little harder to, for a lot of people, I guess I do this for a living, right? So I can look at these lots and go, that's amazing. Like that will be a great lot. But a lot of people can't because, they just see a stand of trees and go like, I don't know what it's going to look like. I can't picture my house there. And so, that's part of the reason for the calls next week is to kind of walk you through, if you're not familiar with choosing. Oops, my mouse disappeared there for a second. So, these lots here, I think some of them are very cool too, very private, because you're right. This is the community orchards and gardens. It's all reserved for that. We've started prepping this for the pathways that'll go through it and the trees. We've got the local nursery guys that know exactly what kind of plants grow well beside each other and everything. They're putting the plan together. So there's already a lot of mangoes in here, but you'll have bananas and papayas and star fruit and whatever you can think of pretty much growing in there. And then on this area will be more of the gardens, and this is the hydroponic gardens here. So if you're really into the gardening and the stables are here, but this is more for like goats, sheep, that sort of thing. Nothing that's really, like I grew up in a farming community. I know hogs, like pigs, don't smell that great. So we're not going to put them on the property. We'll have another area for that, but that's kind of the idea. So it's, there's a limited inventory. When you're saying I'm in, it was starting to sound like I think we might be full, but how
many lots do we have? What were the final after we went through all the permitting? I know things changed. Some lots changed from, when we talked about this a little bit earlier or last year.
Yeah. So there's a total of 87 currently. And now we reserved a bit of area to potentially create some more in the future. But at this point, we're reserving it like that because we have some plans for more gardening and stuff like that too. But there's 87 total lots. I believe as of this morning, there was 42 spoken for. So that.
Well, a quick note on that one, just so everybody's clear. Pat and I did a presentation almost 2 years ago on this before we had the property, before we had anything like that. And as I said, we had 44 people put their hand up. And then we've been quiet for 2 years. We haven't talked about this at all. And that's because we didn't want to jeopardize our permitting process. You're not allowed. There's certain things you can do and say during permitting. So we wanted to make sure we followed all of the laws and the regulations. We worked with the lawyers, everything like that. So we were quiet, silent for 2 years. But now, as of a couple of weeks ago, we got our permits. Now we're able to talk about this again. So we obviously, from 2 years ago, people, some people dropped off, our family situations changed slowly. Some other people heard about it because of, word of mouth, but about half of the lots were already gone from 2 years ago from the people who had the faith, who had the vision. And because of those people, this project is able to go forwards, which is amazing, which is unbelievable. The people who really had the vision at the very beginning. Now we're able to open it up. We're able to actually officially sell and start building and everything. So it's a really exciting project. I'm really stoked about it. And I'm just so pumped up at the moment, Pat. I wanted to ask you, Pat, maybe you could tell us a little bit of a story about the previous owner of the property and why, like a bit of the history of this property and why this property is like so unbelievably special.
Yeah, well, I guess, 25 years ago or so, she found this property, this little diamond in the rough here as well. And she is, like I mentioned, she's an arborist. So she went around the world. She came from a really nice family here in Panama. She's a Panamanian, but she was a single woman running this farm, and she raised sheep and German shepherds. That was her thing, right? But she was an arborist and knew everything about plants and trees. And she would go to different places in the world and, bring seeds back and plant them here. And last fall, it was kind of interesting because I was going to where our water tower is going to be. And I look at this tree and it's like, there's olives in the tree. And I was like, oh, we don't grow olives natively in Panama. And she had brought those from Spain. And she brought some other types of trees that the parrots really love. I didn't even mention the wildlife around here. The lovebirds and parakeets and parrots love this neem tree. So she planted a number of neem trees because they have a little berry that the birds love around. It's pretty cool around the pool. Just about can you hear me?
Yep. I don't know if you were frozen or if I were frozen there for a second, but I think it's all good.
I don't know. What is the last thing you heard?
I don't know. I was writing emails and answering sales questions and stuff.
So I was just talking about the different trees that the previous owner had planted.
I think the olives was the last thing I heard, and then I smiled, and then one of the sales staff messaged me.
In case somebody didn't hear it after that, she also planted these different varieties of trees that the birds love. So parrots and parakeets and lovebirds. And I was just saying that usually just before sunset, we get a bunch of lovebirds coming in here and flocks and, by the trees and by the welcome center here and the pool. It's pretty cool. And there's lots of obviously native birds here. There's not really any like larger wildlife or anything to be afraid of, but there are capuchin monkeys that I see once in a while. And that's pretty cool. I'm a huge monkey fan. I used to love to take the kids to the zoo so I could personally watch the monkeys. They fascinate me. But here are the small capuchins with the little kind of look like they have painted faces. They're not like, some tourist trap monkeys that, steal your sandwiches out of your bag or something. These are afraid of people. But if you're
quick side note, we had a call with a private client of mine day before yesterday, and we told her that, yeah, there's monkeys on site. And she went like, ooh, I don't like monkeys. Are those the ones like in Thailand that steal your stuff? And it's like, no, these are the cute ones, the nice ones. These are the ones you want to have that people would pay to go to the zoo and see. And they're very soft and nice and not dangerous. And they're not going to take the banana out of your backpack or something like that, like in Indonesia or Thailand.
Well, and they're wild, right? So they don't trust people. They don't come near people, but you can see them we have a number of bamboo stands on the property where there's big clumps of bamboo trees that are 50 feet high, and they like to hang out in the bamboo. I guess maybe they eat bamboo leaves or something.
Well, and then tell them about the coco bolo plantation that we've got on site. I think that's like super cool.
Yeah, there's a stand of a tree. It's called coco bolo. It's a very expensive hardwood. Depending on the strain of coco bolo that it is, it's some of the most expensive hardwood in the world. In English, it's rosewood. So if you're a musician, for instance, you might, on a violin or guitar fingerboards, they use a lot of rosewood, and it's an extremely strong and hard wood. Obviously, when you're bending metal strings against wood, the wood has to be very strong. And we've got a stand of that. At some point, we'll probably harvest that, but there's a lot of permitting that goes around that. So that's a pretty cool thing too. There's lots of the different types of trees, like I mentioned, like the olives that she brought, many different types of ferns and palms and all sorts of things. So it's just the perfect area for growing almost anything.
Amazing. Okay, so Pat, if you're up for it, first of all, why don't you go back to the slide with the instructions on where people can get a hold of us, and then let's jump into some Q&A. We've got like so many questions here to go through, so we better get going. Okay, Sarah would like to know, how will the water be allocated? Will homes be metered?
Ultimately, that'll likely be an HOA decision. What we're doing here is there's going to be a split of the water as well. There's a potable water tank that comes directly from the well, and then the overflow goes into an irrigation or a swimming pool filling tank. And what we expect is people are going to be reasonable. Like don't drain your pool every week and refill it, because that's pretty much the biggest use of water. Obviously a 20,000 gallon pool is a lot of water. But there likely will be meters on them, just so that it's more of almost a test to see, like, if somebody's got a leak in the line or something and the meter changes drastically, that's what we've used it at some of our other communities to find out. It's like, where's all our water going? And then we find out somebody's meter is using thousands of gallons a week or something, and go, they're not doing that. So somebody have a leak, right? So that's the reason often for metering. And typically there's a stub out at the road, it's metered there, and then it goes onto your house.
Makes sense. Okay, we have several questions about financing options, schedule of fees, payment, all of these types of financial questions. Let's talk about this a little bit.
Okay, so for the first thing that you're going to want to do is choose your lot, and whatever the price of that lot is, that home site is, obviously you can pay for it complete, and then we will start the process of transferring the title over to you. If you need a little bit more time or want to create a payment schedule for the home site, you can talk to us. We try to be as flexible as we can. Obviously, we don't like our internal financing, vendor financing, to go longer than 18 months because we have the 2-year build requirement. So once we're getting up against that, if it helps you to break the payments up over 12 months or 18 months or something like that, then talk to us. It's not an issue for us. Would be very low interest rates. And recently we actually found a mortgage broker basically that works with various banks here in Panama to create mortgages. And, probably doesn't make sense to go into a whole bunch of detail on that today, but there is a potential option for expats to get mortgages now in Panama. That was difficult to do in the past, almost impossible.
Getting
and
better.
Most countries in the world won't loan you money, won't give you a mortgage for property outside their country. So if you're in the States, a U.S. bank won't give you a loan to buy a property in Panama. And if you're an expat coming from the States, it was difficult to get a Panamanian mortgage. That's changing, especially with the number of expats moving to town. And we have probably 4 or 5 banks behind this mortgage broker that is working with us. So I'm excited about that. That was actually news just yesterday. I got some examples of the interest rates are going to be higher than you're typically used to in North America or Europe. It's just the way it is, but they will do amortizations over up to 20 or 25 years, which is very unusual down here. And, the fees, there's origination fees. Obviously, the bank and broker needs to make some money too, but it really does make, a whole new group of people that are able to afford something like Veritas Village. And I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, I even have a private client of mine who does public lending, who I've introduced to Patrick. So there's multiple ways that we can work this. We can do short-term with the developer, with Pat's company. There could be Panamanian banks. There might be foreign banks that we can work with. There could be private lending. The point is that we're business owners, we're entrepreneurs. We want to see you guys happy. We want to see you guys well taken care of. So if you send us an email at expat@ecovillages.life, then we can discuss these types of things and see what fits with you and your family's needs. Okay.
Yeah, and it's such a case-by-case basis that it's best to just talk to us individually.
Yep. I just want to make sure that people know that there are possibilities and these are things that we actively work on, and we're here to support you guys. Okay. Anonymous asks, hi, are the homes going to consider building in ways that avoid mold growth? Thanks.
Well, yeah, first of all, concrete and steel has a bunch of advantages to it. It doesn't promote mold. It doesn't burn. So, it's also interesting. Most people taking that into the insurance side of things. Most people, when they get insurance for their homes down here, if they get it at all, it's only contents insurance because it's very difficult to burn a concrete home. And we build to California earthquake standards. So, this is along the Pacific coast. There are earthquakes here. I lived in Vancouver and British Columbia in Canada for a long time. I got earthquakes often. So kind of used to it.
I would be careful with the word earthquakes. We get tremors here. We get some small tremors here. This is not what you see in some of the movies or something like.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about Panama, as I mentioned earlier, how it kind of branches from west to east. The fault line keeps going down along the fault line in the Pacific Ocean. So we're further away from it. We get far fewer earthquakes here than you do if you're on the west coast of Mexico or something like that.
Yeah, but they were asking about mold.
Yeah, sorry, going back to the mold. So yeah, it doesn't promote mold. The other thing too is that we're in the more dry corridor. Admittedly, if you go up, another 1,000 feet into the mountains, there's a lot more rain. It's cooler, a lot more promotion of mold. People that aren't aware of, how to build homes will use a lot more wood. I mean, mold likes stuff it can sink its roots into, right? A little bit, tiny roots, but the little kind of growth that it has, you won't see mold growing on steel or concrete. But it's a humid time of year right now, and so you got to keep your house reasonably clean or whatever. If you left something soaking wet in the corner of a room or whatever, it's possible it could get moldy. So you got to be a little bit more careful than you would if you were living in the desert. But it's not really an issue.
The thing to consider is because they're solar, you can run your dehumidifier or your air conditioning unit on dry. Even, you go out for a walk or something like that, you want to go out to the gardens, just keep it running, because you don't have to worry about the expensive electricity bill, because we just don't have that, So how you maintain your own home is definitely going to have an effect. But yes, the homes are built in a manner where they're not going to promote mold growth or anything like that. We're very mindful. And because Pat has, as we said earlier, a couple of decades of experience of building homes down here in Latin America in tropical climates, his company really knows how to handle these types of things. Actually, why don't you talk a very quick side note, Pat, about, the random dentist who gets margarita madness and comes down and decides that they want to be a first-time developer, and maybe why we never work with these types of situations.
Yeah, I mean, that's unfortunately pretty common down in this part of the world that somebody comes down, they may be fairly well off, comes down on a vacation down into the tropics, sees land. I mean, if they came from, New York or something, and sees land that's so little, so much lower price than what they are at home, they get what we refer to as margarita madness. They think that every day is like being on a vacation. So they buy a big tract of land, and then they think they're a developer. And the school of hard knocks is pretty tough on people like that. And, what often happens is they go back home, they subdivide it into some cookie cutter thing that they've decided to do. And then they go back home and they talk to their sister and their dentist, and they sell two lots, and that's where it dies. Right. And then I get a call like from those type of people 2 or 3 times a week saying, I bought this land, I did this, it looked like such a good idea, and now it's going nowhere, and nobody's paying HOA fees. So it's not being upkept, and it's just, falling apart. And you see too much of that. And that's not what we do for a living. And in fact, one of the reasons we did this kind of what I'll call a survey 18 months ago or whatever it was now, Mikkel, is to determine how much interest is there in something like a Veritas Village. We're not to build it and hope they will come type of people, right? We make sure that people will want to be there, because the only way a community is going to be vibrant and great is if there's people living in it. So, there's just too many of those situations around, and that's not us. And that's another reason why you can be comfortable and safe, that there is going to be a community. You're not going to be stuck in, like I've seen people build these mansions, multi-million-dollar mansions, and it's the only house in a resort. And it's depressing for them, right? They have nothing there, no neighbors, no amenities, because the companies, the resort building companies, won't put amenities in if there's one person living in there. So that's an unfortunate thing, and that's not what we do.
Absolutely. To be very clear, everybody, when I partner with someone like Patrick, I'm looking at their history, what they've done. Pat and I have had a 6-7 year friendship now. Our houses are 5 minutes from each other. We go on vacation together. We've spoke on conferences together. I know him very well. He's not a first-time developer. He's a professional. This is what he does for a living. His company, it's a family business. I really trust them. So I want to make sure that every time I work with someone, it's that relationship that we leverage. And, I get maybe 3 million people a year who listen and read my work. So we have a huge community at Expat Money. So I would say my guess would be within the next 7 days, 8 days, something like that, all home lots are going to be gone at this property. So this isn't a question of once again, is this going to happen? It is happening. It's happening in real time as we're going through this. I can see the sales team going crazy at the moment. So make sure you guys send an email. But it's a very different type of thing because, as Pat said, if you come down to Caribbean, Latin America, there's just littered with half-built buildings and communities that never got started or anything like that. And that's because they weren't professionals. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't have the team in place. They didn't have the reach and the community already existing. We've already taken care of all of that for you. We've done all of the heavy lifting. We've done all of the work. We figured it all out. As Pat said, School of Hard Knocks hasn't been easy to get to this point, but we're here. And because of that, we're able to do a community like this to such an amazing high standards. Okay, next, Pat, I got a couple of questions about HOAs. Talk to us about HOAs, about how they're going to work. Let's say that someone buys a property right now. When does their HOAs kick in? Anything, everything HOA related.
Okay, the HOA will start when the home is completed or the end of the 2-year period, whichever comes first. That's kind of the plan for that. The HOA's range is quite, I think, very reasonable, quite low. I think it's depending on the property, but that you have, the size and a few other things that come into play. But around $140 up to, I think the cap is $290, $295 per month. One thing I would warn people about when they're looking at other places, when the developer's bragging about a very low HOA fee, your radar should go on, because I've gone to see properties many times, and sometimes one guy told me it's only $20 a month. I said, and in 2 years, your entire community is going to be a disaster, because that's not enough money to keep everything going. And so, there's a lot of stuff in, these different amenities, different, the orchards and gardens. We're lucky that in Latin America, the labor rates are very low. So you can have, there's going to be full-time security here. That's more for people's peace of mind than actually a necessity. But, there'll be full-time security. There'll be people taking care of the orchards and gardens. I'm sure a lot of people in the residents that love to work in gardening and in the orchards will be out there too and helping out. But, you really need somebody that's kind of full-time, or two people that are full-time, to make sure it's all taken care of well. Hydroponic gardens, tilapia pond, and all the gym and everything like that all needs to be taken care of. And so I think the HOA fees are very reasonable. We've had a lot of experience with what it costs to maintain communities like this. So we basically had some number of what it would cost per month. And then we tried to distribute it as equally as possible among the home sites.
Fantastic. Okay, quick note, everybody. Lori, Martha W, and Nancy B. The team has tried to call you, but no answer. Please make sure you turn your phone on and wait for a callback, because they're going to be going right on to the next group of people, and I don't want you guys to miss out. So Lori, Martha, and Nancy, please turn on your phone and expect a call back. Andrea and Sarita are trying to get a hold of you. Okay, next, let's talk about low EMF. I've had 2 or 3 questions who have asked about EMF and these types of things.
Well, as you know, Mikkel, and maybe a number of people on this call, we've been looking at creating specific low EMF communities over the past years. There's a lot of people in the world that don't feel well if they're in environments that, and EMF is electromagnetic fields. Different things give it off of certain appliances, Wi-Fi, even Bluetooth and things like that give off electromagnetic fields. And there's a number of different types of EMFs. And my background, I was a computer science guy, so we had to take a lot of electronic courses. So I have familiarity with it to a fairly decent degree. I'm not an EMF expert, but we actually, in the process of looking for communities that would be low EMF, I did a lot of research and talked to a lot of, prominent experts around the world. And they told me exactly what meters to get and, to measure EMFs. And these meters aren't cheap. I've spent a lot of money on them. But, what's really interesting is the first day I had 4 different meters, and I had them one after another here at Veritas Village. And I turned them on. I didn't really know what was great or what was good. And, they tell you on there, they're green light, you're in a great place. We're far away from any, high tension power lines. It's almost impossible to get a cell signal here. So, we're not near anything that causes EMFs, but the measurements were so low that I wasn't sure if the meters were working. And so when I got back to the city, to our apartment there, I turned them on again. And my measurement here was on one of the meters, and I can't remember which one, it was the microns of something, but it was it measured 27 here at Veritas Village. Just I picked random areas in the community. And I got into the city and turned it on my deck of my apartment, and it was 37 million. So the difference was 27, not 27 million, 27, the number 27 to 37 million. And I was like, oh, they work, I guess. But that made me concerned of what I'm living in the city. But now I don't feel EMFs. It's not an issue for me or my family. But if you are, it's something to consider here. It's on all the scales that we measured. And like I said, I'm not an expert, but we certainly can have experts come in and do those measurements as well. But it certainly appears to be very low EMF.
Amazing. Okay, next, let's talk about property management, rentals, short-term, long-term, anything like that. Let's say that someone wanted to buy a property as their plan B, but actually they want to travel. They want to be a digital nomad. They still have family responsibilities back in Canada and the US. They can't be here at all times. Talk us through anything from the rental side of the picture.
Well, we're going to have an on-site property management and rental department here. I'm sitting in the welcome center. Just to my right over here is where the reservation desk, the welcome center check-in desk would be. Now, I'll say right up front, this community is going to be probably 95% people living in it. But just like anybody else, we have a lot of our residents or clients that own homes in several of our communities in Belize or Honduras or Nicaragua or wherever. And some of them like to split the year into 4 segments and stay 3 months in each one and experience a different place. So when they're not in one, or when they're not in 2 or 3 of them, they're renting them out. And that will probably be a fairly common thing here as well. So you live here there's lots of snowbirds as well, right? The Canadians and northern US folks that come down to this part of the world for 5 or 6 months or something and love to have a home here and then rent it out during the rest of the year. I mean, honestly, from a rental standpoint, you probably get more bang for your buck on a beachfront home. That's just the reality. When people come down to the tropics for 2 weeks or something, they want to stay on the beach. But I think we're also going to have extremely good rental returns here as well. And I don't guarantee any kind of rental return, but I think imagine the popularity on this call of how many people want a home here and how many people would like to check out what it's like, stay here for a month or something, and say, man, I'd love to live in a community like this. And that's great for us because we are continuing to create more Veritas villages around the region. So, I think the rentals will do really well. Like I said, we have the rental entity ourselves because what I've seen in some other communities is much like with the construction, companies set themselves up as rental businesses and property management, and they never go check the house, and get a water leak and it's just going for weeks and nobody knows about it. And that's not the way we want to professionally manage homes. And we want people to rent their homes out, make, a good rental return on it. But then when they come down, their house is in really good shape. Right. So that's the reason that we're going to have our own here as well. And that's also in the purchase agreement where you basically agree. Now, that doesn't mean you can't rent it out yourself. Like if you want to put it on Airbnb, but if you want to do that and work with us, then our system is the word of God, right? If there's a reservation in our system, we don't want double reservations for the same time, right? So you just contact us and say, okay, I've got somebody's interested on my Airbnb account and they want to stay for 2 weeks in August, and we'll be like, yeah, okay, we block it for that. So we work with you. We just don't want poorly performing rental companies, cramming in here and convincing everybody that they're going to do a good job and then don't.
Well, and I had a couple of the comments, I'm not going to read them live, but basically people saying this is amazing, but I can't afford to spend so much money on the front end for a home. Well, my invitation would be for for some of the higher net worth people, if you are looking at something, you could always buy a lot, build a home, and rent it on long term. It doesn't have to be short term rental. I am sure there will be lots of interest from people who can't afford to buy their own home, but would still love to live in a community like this and are happy to pay a good premium for that. So there's lots of different ways that we can get creative so that everybody is happy.
And I think the long-term rentals are great too, because long and short, as long as it's not a hotel where it's all short-term rentals and it's just changing all the time. But the longer-term rentals and any rentals really give a lot more spice to a community. Like you're going to sit at the restaurant one night and there's some, a new couple or something there that you're like, hey, how you doing? Welcome to Veritas Village. And you get to meet people from all over the world. There's a lot of Europeans traveling to this area too. So it's, there's a lot of different people you meet and they end up becoming your friends. And, I've met people that way at some of our other communities and, we end up going to Europe or something and then visiting them at their home. Right. So it's nice. It's a nice mix to have.
100%. Okay, I've got 3 or 4 questions here. I got from JP, from Trevor, from a couple other people. Saltwater pools, natural swimming pools, these types of things. Are these options? What would the pool situation look like if someone wanted to do?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of saltwater pools. I highly recommend them. I mean, for people that aren't familiar with saltwater pools, you can't really taste any salt in there or anything like that. They're just enough salt that algae won't grow, and the salt machine, is basically keeps it at a certain level, and so you don't have to be adding chlorine, which is great. It's much better for your skin. It's very low maintenance, and then you combine that with the solar pump. Well, I'm just testing a new solar pump in our pool here. We have a pool here, and we have a natural pond pool here as well by the Welcome Center. And, that's kind of a whole different thing. The natural ponds where you got water flowing through it and lily pads and things like that growing that keep the water clean. But the solar pump in the swimming pool has just been amazing to me. Like we were drawing so much power for a regular AC pump before. And just this last week, I put this one in and the water is crystal clear. It's pumping from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and no power usage, right? It's two panels and it's running this thing all day long. Instead of getting the 4 to 8 hours of filtering, it's now getting 12, right? And it's free. It's amazing. So, yeah, and you can put whatever kind of pool you want in, but I certainly am a big saltwater pool fan.
Amazing. Okay. Tom would like to know, does the construction group also provide ongoing maintenance services for things like solar systems, batteries, generators, appliances, these types of things, etc.?
Yeah, that's all part of our property maintenance package. So once your home is done and you have the occupation certificate of it, then you can kind of flip over to the property maintenance. Now, I'm not saying it won't be the same people in some cases because sometimes they're experts in a certain field. But we train up everybody to understand how the solar systems work, and they're getting so much more bulletproof and self-contained. Like we're getting the inverters and batteries and packages all in one, self-contained unit, so it all works very well together and has hardly any issues. The Welcome Center has been running on solar system for a year and a half now, and I keep changing them. In fact, we got a new one yesterday because as the technology changes, I'm testing them all. And this is the perfect place because we have 3 air conditioners and a bunch of fridges and things like that. So I can, hit it hard. Now, admittedly, we put in gas stoves, natural gas stoves or propane stoves, gas clothes dryers and stuff like that. Because if you're smart about it, you don't task your solar system so much with those are the biggest draws. Like, fortunately, we don't have any furnaces or baseboard heaters or anything here. There's never a cause to heat. So that's a huge benefit for doing solar systems. And we're not that far from the equator, so we have the most solar generation power here. Like I was doing this in Vancouver area for many years and had to have 10 times the number of panels. And and even then you get 3-week stretch of gray skies. It's hard to create enough power to keep the home going. Now down here, like most of the time, even if I run, the batteries as low as I can try to run them at night here, by 10 or 11 in the morning, that they're completely 100% charged up again because we just get so much solar power here.
Wow. Amazing. Okay. I'm not going to read these because a lot of questions seem to be very similar. So I'm just kind of bulking some of the questions together. But so if I don't read your name or the exact verbatim question, understand that I feel like it's been taken care of. Okay, this one is 4 or 5 questions on kind of like the demographics, Pat. Like, who do you expect to be living in this? Is this only for retirees? Is this only for young families? I have people who have kids. I have people who don't have kids. The questions kind of come from multiple angles. What do you think, like, the makeup of the community might be? What would be your guess?
Well, this is one of my favorite things because I'll be blunt. Before COVID, it was most of our communities were either retirees or just pre-retirees, like maybe somebody getting 50 years old or something and wants to have a home now to rent and then to move into when he retires. That was a pretty typical scenario. With Veritas Village here in Coronado, it's totally different. We've had probably more young families than we have people with reservations in their mid 20s into their mid 80s and everywhere in between. People with small children. And what was interesting, one of the days that I was here, an older couple came in here and they were in their 70s and they're saying, we just want to live in a community where it's not full of loud children and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know if this is the right place. I mean, it's very spread out. Everybody's lots are very large, but there will be children here and there's going to be a school here. So, keep that in mind. And then actually a German couple came and they had 2 young children and they immediately embraced the older couple and said, hey, this is like our new grandma and grandpa here in Panama. And by the end of the tour, they were doing this, like they were loving these kids. And it's like, we changed our mind. We love this place. We want to be around kids. That's the kind of thing we want. So it was an interesting thing. And I think I mentioned earlier or to you previously that we had in 7 or 8 in a row, it was like an Italian couple with kids, German couple with kids, French couple, Netherlands, in the Netherlands and France, and they're farms are getting taken away and different political things that are going on there. And so we're getting a lot of Europeans coming to see the community too. And a guy from Scotland, a guy from Ireland, and then, right after that, it was Australia and a couple different couples from New Zealand. So it was, it hasn't been just Canadians and Americans, although there's a lot of Canadians, and being a Canadian, I can understand why, given what's going on there. But
same.
But it's a really interesting mix of demographic. It's cool that worldwide there's a like-mindedness of people, and such a wide range in demographics. I'm always a little nervous if somebody's in their 20s that, okay, have you been kind of indoctrinated into some woke mindset? And then when I find somebody that's not, it's refreshing, right? And they're like, yeah, no, I want to live in a place like Veritas too, because I'm sick of the the Harvard University type of people or something. I don't know I don't need to pick on Harvard, but that kind of thing.
So I also was a little bit, curious about this myself. I'm 41 years old. I got 3 kids. I'm married. I was wondering, is it going to be other families who live out there? Is it retirees? Or is younger people? I have a private client, a very smart guy. I think he's 28 years old, single guy. He bought a home out here. I have clients who are in their late 60s, in their 70s, who have bought here. I have other clients who have families who have 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. They're going to have properties out here. So it's going to be a real mix, just like real life. You don't want just like all the same age demographic or all single people. This is not a singles club. This is not only for families. It's for everybody. The common tie is the belief pattern. It's the philosophy. It's the do not encroach on other people or their property. Do all that you say you will do. These types of values that a lot of my people hold near and dear. Another quick point that I want to talk to you guys about is the school. So you guys probably know that I have a separate business with a partner of mine named Mikkel Strong, where we do an online high school. It actually starts from 8 years old. It goes to 19 years old. We have 3 different programs, a juniors program, a middle school program, and a high school. Now, up until now, this has been 100% digital online platform. It's not video recordings, it's live sessions. But what we're going to be doing for this community is we're going to be building a physical school. So the idea would be kind of a one one room schoolroom type of setup, just like we used to have 100 years ago, 200 years ago, type of style. So there'll be 10-year-olds and there'll be 15-year-olds in the same room. And what we're going to be able to do is pipe in, through high-speed internet, the programs from some of the best teachers in the world. And then we will have a local guide who will help facilitate things. And so a lot of the kids, if they want, they can attend this school. And because we're only 15 minutes from Coronado, we can actually have a bus that would take other expat families who have kids and want to participate in this school and are once again like-minded. They can come up and use the school as well. Now, it's a private school. Absolutely, there's fees involved. This is not socialized education or state run or anything like this. You guys should know me. I don't do anything like that. It's completely private. So it's going to be a really good option. If you guys want more information about that, then you can send us an email, expat@ecovillages.life, and we can connect you with the director of the school. Obviously, that's not going to be open day one of this project. We've got a lot of work to do beforehand, but think not just in year one of this project, but as the community grows, there's going to be a lot of options that we've looked at, and this is really coming from my extended network. Make sense?
I think, Mikkel, the other thing that I want to mention there too is that's the kind of way I grew up, and that's what I'd like to see repeated here. Like, I grew up in a very small town in the prairies of Canada. There was 100 to 200 people that lived in the town. So the school did have kind of that sort of feel to it. And it was almost like a hybrid of homeschooling and being in the classroom. There was a lot of times that we weren't in the classroom, that we were like down at the creek, and just like we have a creek here, we were down catching minnows or discovering how, frogs lay their eggs and they turn into tadpoles and those sorts of things, catching butterflies and that sort of stuff. So to me, that's probably one of the most exciting things for me, is to actually see kids. I mean, if there's any kind of legacy that we can leave here with these Veritas villages, is that kids get a decent education and are awake to what's going on in the world and are not, so blinded. And, there's different books on the topic, but too many people these days are, what was referred to as useful idiots, right? The government's just using them as voting machines. And, I'm looking forward to, seeing kids here playing and just having a totally different mindset, that they're not getting indoctrinated. So I'm pretty excited about your school here. And I love the approach, because it reminds me of my childhood where, there was no indoctrination. You learned, math and reading and those sorts of things. And that's just the way it was.
And I think that it's going to be cool for the school to go do field trips around Veritas and go out to the butterfly park and do science classes and all the species of trees and the animals and everything like that. That's what the kids are going to be. That's the environment, opposed to just concrete everywhere, Yeah,
and you're going to have to stop bugging me about the butterfly gardens, though.
I didn't bug you about it. I just threw it in there. You're the one who highlighted. Pat loves.
We're going to have a butterfly gardens here because, for whatever reason, having a sanctuary that's like a jungle surrounded by butterflies and parakeets or whatever inside is a very relaxing place for me, and I love them. So that's one of the reasons I'm going to make sure we have one of those, even if I'm the only guy that sits in there. But that Mikkel likes to bug me about the butterfly gardens.
So a little bit of context. Pat is a Canadian with a German background. And Pat, you're very precise, which is good, is what you want in a developer. You're very precise. But then you also have this incredible sweet side about you that a lot of people probably don't realize. And Pat loves the butterfly garden. When he was telling me about it, his whole face lit up. He was so happy. And I think it's awesome. I do like to tease him a little bit about it because it's nice, it's cute, but you have to understand we're very good friends in real life. So I gotta give him a little razz him a little bit. But I just said butterfly garden. I didn't even.
You didn't have to say anymore. It was the way you said it, but I'm okay with it. I'm confident in my butterfly
I love
gardens.
you, Pat. I love you. I love you. Okay. Oh, by the way, I'm getting messages. When I said about my 27, 28-year-old client, in the chat, everyone went, "That's Jesse. I know Jesse." Jesse is amazing, super smart entrepreneur. If you guys are interested in entrepreneurship or you've got teenagers or things like that, make sure you guys meet Jesse. He's a really smart entrepreneur. Been a client with me for 3 years. He's super cool guy. Really, really nice. Okay, next question. Let's talk
Jesse
about.
And Spencer hit it up.
Yeah, he's awesome. I love Jesse. Okay, I got from Bobby, from Ty. No, from JP, from Tom, a bunch of people asking about the Wi-Fi. Let's talk about the Wi-Fi because people got digital businesses, things like that. We hinted on it, but let's get into more detail on internet.
Yeah, so we're using Starlink here, Elon Musk's thing. It's amazing. We've got it here. We've got it in our bodega. Bodega is Spanish word for storage and shop. And it's about 300 megabits per second. So, I mean, I absolutely need high-speed internet. We do a lot of video conferencing, a lot of that sort of thing. Multiple ones at the same time. I might be doing a video conference. Andrea might be watching something or talking to a client on Zoom. I'm a Canadian, so that means I'm a hockey fan. I like to watch my sports on the big screens here. And sports, especially hockey, it's a fast-moving sport. It takes a lot of bandwidth, and it works perfectly, and I love it. And it's pretty inexpensive. For 300 megabits a second, I think we're paying $48 a month, something like that. And I get all my TV through that too, right? All the news networks. I have to watch mainstream news once in a while to get a laugh, and different things like that. So it's great. We use it in a number of our communities now, and it's perfect here. So that's the best. I mean, you can use it's difficult to use mobile related, like SIM card internet routers, just because they don't get a very strong signal up here. So the Starlink is really the way to go. And there is the ability to run the local fiber optic line into here, but at this point we haven't seen any reason to do that. Somebody could do that if they wanted to. They can run the lines beside our water lines in the easement areas. But right now if you need more than 300 megabits per second, and that's the base. So I know you can, that's just a software controlled thing. I think they can go up to 1 terabyte now with Starlink. So you can get whatever.
And then also everyone, Pat is on Starlink right now, completely off grid, not connected to the main line, anything like that. And your video has been crystal clear. I actually found out before with the internet, it was actually me here in Panama whose internet went down, downtown Panama City, and you're in the off-grid community, and yours has been more solid.
Well, I find that all the time. I actually would rather do the conferences calls from here than I would from our office or our home in Panama City, because that's less stable than this one is. And this has been really great. It's everybody can have their own. And if you are trying to avoid EMFs, you still use Starlink, and then just go. There's a direct Ethernet cable option for it as well, so you don't have to have a Wi-Fi router. The Wi-Fi routers, too. Like the homes are like I said, concrete and rebar, and that blocks signals pretty well. So, if you're in your own home here, and even your neighbor a few hundred feet away has Wi-Fi, it's pretty much not detectable inside your own home. But that's different than like the US, where most homes are stick frame. So there's different benefits to that too. But yeah, I've been very impressed. I had no idea. I know Spencer just got one, Starlink yesterday we're doing moving a sailboat in August, up from near Alaska, almost down to Vancouver Island. And he got the Starlink to put on the boat just so that we can stay in touch with people. So they're pretty amazing. I'm very impressed with them.
100%. And another quick side note, I work as a consultant all day long for helping people to move overseas and deal with their tax situation and immigration and all the offshore plan. So I'm literally like 8 hours, 9 hours a day in front of Zoom. I have really good internet here. It's call it 99.99% uptime. It's usually rock solid. I always laugh because I get calls from clients who are like in California or something like that, and their internet is terrible, absolutely the worst. And I'm down here in quote unquote a third world country, and our internet is amazing down here. But people who are in some places in the US or in Canada, in major cities have terrible internet. So if you're running go ahead.
So that's probably because California turned the power grid off for a while to save power.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just like South Africa, now the two are being like the same. They're doing like load sharing and brownouts and stuff like that. Sorry, time to get out. People in California, time to get out. But if you run an online business, you're a coach or consultant, you have a website or do online business or work remote, or you have a company that you need to get to manage from back home, Panama is an excellent place to do business, and you can really have quality work with this. Okay, moving on, because we got still like 51 open questions here, and we've been at this for a while. Okay, how soon can construction start on new homes? How soon, Pat?
So right now we just finished the survey, or in finishing in the next couple of days. We want to resurvey every single lot and every common area to make sure they're 100% correct, and that has just been done. Like the center of the road marks or everything. We got, we're cutting in the roads now, so all that had to be done, kind of to make sure it's all bulletproof. So then we take that to a department called a nutty here, and they're the title registry department. So what happens is that title gets registered, because this used to be a farm, right? So now part of that permitting of 18 months process, that we had to convert a farm into a residential community. So that's been done. That permit's been completed. Now those home sites all go into the registry, the title registry, and that's created. And with that, which we hope to be done in a couple of weeks, or a few weeks anyway, and then we start the title transfer process. And usually that goes pretty quickly. This is Latin America. It's not going to be overnight like it can be in first world countries. But, we give it a couple months, and then, we hope that you'd have your title. And then the moment you have a title, you apply for in that time, you can select your home, select the modifications to your home that you want, those sorts of things, where on the lot we would want to put it. All that needs to be brought to the place where you get the building permit. And we still have to get building permits in this country. So it's not quite that, that open that you don't have to get a building permit. The nice thing about these countries in Latin America is there's no particular restriction on the number of homes you can have on your property. So you could have your main home and a couple guest homes or that sort of thing. And that's kind of cool too, for having, friends and family come over, or rentals, or whatever it is that you want. But after that time frame, then you get your title transferred to yourself, and you get the building permit. Building permits, they say, is usually about 3 weeks. And then once that started, that's just, the fire department has to look at that. MINSA, which is the health department here, checks that, you'll be able to get water. We have community water, but they're going to confirm that we've got a water pipe to your lot and all that sort of thing. So there's a bunch of little things that go on, but it's kind of stuff that we all help you with and get you going. And then our construction team starts, and away they go.
Amazing. Okay. I got one here from Daryl. Actually, I got a couple here from Daryl. They called and I paid already. I want to see it 2 weekends from now. Let me know if that's possible. Can he come and see it in 2 weeks from now?
Yeah, I may personally not be here. I have to do a lot of traveling in August. But we always have somebody around that will be able to show you the property. And even like our construction manager is a huge fan. He just purchased a lot here as well. And he's like-minded like us, and he is looking forward to doing this. And he's a great guy, Canadian guy, actually. He's from the Toronto area, and he's been down here for a couple of decades building homes. So he's got that perfect mix of, he knows what you want and the quality level you want, but he knows how to get it done down here, which is a rare thing. And so, he's often said, hey, if you have people come down here and Andrea or somebody else isn't available to show the property, he's happy to do it. So we'll make sure that somebody can show you the property.
Fantastic. I got a couple of comments of people who said butterfly gardens are awesome, Pat.
Thanks for being on my team.
Basically, don't worry. Don't listen to Mikkel. Don't worry about Mikkel. Thanks, guys. Okay. Mitchell would like to know, at what level of sales will all of the amenities be completed? Like, do we need to hit a certain milestone of sales before the amenities go in? Talk us through this.
No, we're just going to put them in order that makes sense. But basically, well, the tilapia pond is already dug. We have our own little system of filling it and keeping it filled with water with the dry season. But we're going to have things like an outdoor gym too, because we have such amazing weather here. But there's no sense in putting an outdoor gym in tomorrow if it's a year and a half or so before people are living here, because things rust and that sort of stuff. So we've done on a as needed basis, but there's no, we got to have 50% solar. I mean, we're already there, but it's just we're going to be put them in. That's another thing that a pet peeve of mine of a lot of developers. I don't develop like that. It's like I want to live there because that stuff is there. Not I don't want to live there and then you just tell me when maybe it's going to come in. So same thing with your school, Mikkel, it doesn't make sense to have a school sitting there if there's no kids yet, right? And, we're going to have a clinic with a little bit more open-minded medical thoughts, and different types of that. It's not going to be a Pfizer, sponsored clinic or anything like that. So the amenities are going to come along as it makes sense. And, obviously when you're building a community with amenities and homes in parallel at the same time, there's a lot of big trucks coming in with, concrete and foundational work and rebar and all that sort of stuff. So things like the roads are probably going to be, a crushed gravel road until probably a year and a half or 2 years from now, where we're looking at different types of pavers. I like the turf stone pavers, which are kind of an open brick paver. It's like a paved road, but it's kind of porous, and when you get those heavy rains, it doesn't create a river. It soaks up the water, which is a big thing down here, for drainage and that sort of thing. So anyway, there's a lot. The plans are to just keep plugging along, and hey, I want to live here too. I want the amenities, and we're going to have the restaurant and stuff. We're designing all those things right now, and we'll be building them in parallel with the homes.
Fantastic. And actually, as we're talking about gyms, we got a message from Bauckham. So, hey, Bauckham, good to hear from you. I think you actually did reserve before when I took you out to see the property when you came to visit me earlier in the year. He wants to know a little bit more about the gym and its equipment. A side note from mine, I used to be massively into fitness, it was my whole life, and I thought that's what I wanted to do. This was back in my 20s and stuff like that. If you guys ever see pictures of me from my 20s, God, I was so handsome. It was just unbelievable, just amazing. I just look at those photos. I was in such good shape. But it's always been a dream of mine to develop my own gym. So I absolutely will be part of the gym process. And I know, Bauckham, because of our many conversations, that you're very big into fitness as well. So maybe you and I will have a conversation, and then things that you think that belong in the gym, we will make that happen, because we can do stuff like that. Yeah, any other comments on gym stuff?
Spencer, I'm sure Spencer will be happy to be involved in your group there too, because he's also very much into fitness. I'll bow out of that, because if you see me, you realize I'm not that into fitness, but
I used to be massively into fitness, and I want to be into fitness again. Right now, my mission is to try to get as many people out of their abusive relationships that they have with their government, these Stockholm syndrome type of things that we see, and getting people down. So I'm working all day, all night around that. And then any free minute I spend with my 3 kids and my wife. So that's really my focus. But when we got a nice gym in Veritas and I can go for a walk with my kids or ride the bike or, all of these types of things, I can't wait to get back in much better shape. I think it's important.
Well, I'm getting into some shape walking. I mean, yesterday I walked all the roads to make sure the survey marks were in the right place and everything. And, it was about 3 kilometers of road in here. So it's a little bit of a walk anyway. And it's up and down hills. So this place makes me in shape, whether I'm trying or not.
Cool. Okay. So many questions. I want to make sure we get kind of the big stuff. Would the development be suitable for seniors?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ideas we've had too is a age and place home in one of the spaces here too. And, that's a group of people that I have a lot of sympathy for. My father, I got Alzheimer's when I was young, and taking care of him is difficult. But, I was seeing some prices in the US recently, anywhere eight to $14,000, even more per month for taking care of your parents in a home type of thing. And first of all, that's not really much of a thing here in Latin America. People stay with their families in the home, but I'm thinking this is such a beautiful surrounding that it would be nice, and it's so much less expensive. You could have full-time care for so little here compared to in North America. So it's one of the ideas. But yeah, it's still, even, a senior couples, we've got a number of people, that are going to be, 70 and up living here, and it's a beautiful place. And, it may even someday have that kind of age in place services as well. And even if you don't have a home like that, people can live in their own home and have full-time nursing care and everything for so little that it's really a great place for that.
Amazing. Spence and I are talking on the side here, and he's saying, we're going to make sure the gym is solid, Mikkel. I'm going to send him a picture from when I was super fit.
I thought you guys are going to be talking about butterflies or something.
No. We'll make fun of you for that later on. Don't worry. Another thing is that a lot of these home models can be single level. So you don't necessarily have to have, stairs, things like that. Yeah. And also, while you were talking, Pat, I was thinking about these blue zones that are, really discussed a lot right now. I know there was like a Netflix special about it, and it's going around these different blue zones. I would not be surprised if our community turned into a blue zone. And I was watching some of these programs, and I just thought it was so cool to have. One of the biggest things was community. One of the takeaways from the entire program is as a community, friends, like-minded people, sharing and respecting elders and going to them for wisdom. And I think that's amazing. So yes, yeah. I want to have other families with kids who are my age, but I want them to have other people to talk to. Like my mother lives with me full time and helps take care of the kids. And I can really see that our community and all the activities and the gym that we were just talking about and things like this, and the organic food and the fruit trees and the 200-year-old mango trees, all of these things are going to contribute to a really healthy lifestyle.
It was super interesting to me. I watched that Blue Zone documentary on Netflix. I'd recommend it to anybody. While I was watching it, it hit me like I was taking notes on. Well, so the whole premise of the thing is these places around the world where they've discovered people live longer than almost anywhere else. So they're living into their hundreds. And, there's places in Japan, there's places in Greece, there's places, these communities that had people living, and they tried to figure out what was the common denominator in that. And it was very exciting for me because I was checking off the boxes going, hey, Veritas, we do that. We've got community. We're going to have, growing our own food, spending a lot of time outdoors, having, like-minded friends, like you said. It was just like, wow, we're creating a blue zone. It's pretty cool. And I hadn't really heard of them before that. So
amazing. Well, I love all the longevity stuff. So as I think was last Wednesday's podcast where we talked about the longevity, and I want to do a lot more programs on health, freedom, decentralized health, these types of things. So a lot of it I'm very curious about, and I'm constantly learning. I'm obviously not a doctor. I'm just an amateur at these things. But I did think when I was watching them and learning about the blue zones, I was like, that's Veritas. I mean, that's exactly what we're building here. And it just happens to be the case. So,
well, and just on the organic food thing too. I mean, sometimes that term gets a bit of a bad name. Like, we're technically going to be truly organic here. I mean, the people living here are probably not going to want to add herbicides and pesticides or anything to the orchards. When I became very skeptical of the whole organic industry at one point, many years ago when I was young, and in Canada, the organic free range eggs started coming out. And I realized that one of our neighbors was a chicken farmer, and he had these massive chicken barns. And they had the rule was they had to let the chickens out one day of the year. So 364 days of the year, they were in a 1 foot by 1 foot thing laying eggs. And the one day they got to go out was enough to label their eggs as free range. And that was the worst day of their life for those chickens, because you had to catch them all with these hooks to get them back into their crate. for the next 364 days. And I just thought this is a joke, but they were able to charge 3 times the price for those eggs because they were labeled free range. So I was very skeptical of the whole, organic movement for a long time. I know a lot of those rules have changed in the US and Canada and everywhere, but at least here, when we're talking about organic fruits and vegetables, that they're inside the community. So we know they are, right? We're not buying blueberries at 10 times the cost because somebody labeled them organic.
Makes sense. Okay, I've got a couple of questions here on public transport, buses. Do they need to have a vehicle? Can they get into town? Talk us through all of these types of things.
This will be the second topic you bugged me about. Is my little.
There's no bugging on this one. I love this one. What are you talking about?
Okay. All right. Well, Spencer bugged me about it a lot.
It wasn't me. That was Spencer. I think this one is super cool, actually. So
we have a shuttle. We have a solar powered shuttle bus here. It's a 14 passenger bus that I ordered online, and everybody was bugging me about it. It's going to be a piece of junk, and it's anyway, it showed up. It's pretty cool. It is very cool. It's got regenerative braking, so it charges. We can charge it off of the solar system here, and it's pretty powerful. It gets around, it's comfortable. I feel a little bit like I'm, in Jurassic Park driver or something, driving around Veritas in that shuttle bus. But technically we can go back and forth, bring it to the mall or whatever, grocery store, and back up, a couple times a day we can have runs and things like that. And maybe it's just a shuttle within from, inside the community. You want to go to the restaurant, we'll shuttle you over there, that sort of thing. But there's also, cabs, Uber, and there's a regular small bus that goes up to the Laguna and then down to Coronado, so you can catch that as well. So you technically wouldn't need to have a vehicle here, but it's a beautiful place. I mean, we're close to Anton Valley. We're close to all the beaches. There's always ways to get to them in, like I said, Uber or cabs, and those are very, very inexpensive. But I like having a vehicle here to go exploring. I'll probably go over Anton Valley this afternoon. There's a mountain road across from here to there.
You're doing phone calls. You're working all day. Haven't you seen the spreadsheet yet? You got much work
done
to
my
do,
job
right?
Here.
And I got a message from Spencer. It was him. He's like, yeah, that was him who was bugging you about the bus. It wasn't me. I bug you about the butterflies. Your son is the one who gives you a hard time about the bus, not me.
Well, now I get to pay back in front of a few hundred people to say, hey, you have to eat your words, Spencer. It was a good vehicle.
I remember walking the property with you last time, and it's going up and down the hills, and it's like beep, beep, beep. And it was like, oh, get out of the way. It was like the electric vehicle. You couldn't even hear it coming because it's so quiet and silent behind you. So
I just like the fact that, it sits out there and charges all day, right? So
absolutely. Actually, on chargers, Mitchell just asked 10 seconds ago, EV chargers, electric vehicle chargers. What does that look like?
Well, if you're talking about Panama, they're becoming more and more popular. There's a number of new EV models here. This area of the world is much more diesel and gas oriented. This bus that we have charges on a regular 120 volt line. So if you had an electric car here, you could just plug it into your solar system and charge it very quickly here, just off your house. This bus is made to have solar panels on the roof, so it's basically charging itself. But I don't think there's going to be any need to have kind of EV stations here inside of Veritas. I know there are some in Coronado, so if you had an electric car and you wanted to charge it there, you could. You could also charge it off of your house system here. So it's not really that different than being anywhere else.
Nice. Another quick side note is we just bought a brand new vehicle 1 week ago. Technically, we just picked it up 1 week ago, and we got one of the Chinese vehicles here. First of all, I don't believe in I need to support General Motors or I need to support Ford because they're US companies. That stuff doesn't matter to me personally. So we bought a brand new 7-seater, what is it called, Pat? Dongfeng?
Yeah, Dongfeng, the yacht. I love the model called the yacht.
Yeah. It's like all the bells and whistles, everything you could imagine. The car is absolutely gorgeous. We paid cash price was $26,000 US $26,000 for a brand new vehicle. And I had Pat come over and take a look at it because he knows a lot more about vehicles than I did. We gave the thing a shake and we looked under the hood and crawled underneath it and did all this stuff. And it's like, it's a solid vehicle. So you can get a really nice vehicle here in Panama for 26 grand. And so can go exploring and go camping, and the back seats fold down so you can put the cooler in there and go out to the lagoon or go out to the different beaches and everything like that. So we will have transport for people who don't want to have a vehicle, but if you do want to get a vehicle, you don't need to spend an extra $100,000 or something. You can get something really quality for 26,000 as long as you don't mind driving a Chinese vehicle, which I know some people do. My wife is from China, so I've already made that decision. I don't mind at all.
Well, I mean, honestly, I've been into cars most of my life, and honestly, the Chinese cars used to be junk, really. And then a few years ago, they hired most of the best designers and engine makers and stuff from BMW, Mercedes, Honda, Toyota, and you can look it up. They literally stole these guys, and they reverse engineered, which you're allowed to do there, some of the best vehicles in the world. The one I'm looking at is a reverse engineered Maserati Levante. I mean, that's a $200,000 car that they're selling for $29,000 here, right? And it's basically the same. If you look at it, it's hard to tell the difference. I don't know what it's going to do to the car industry, but these cars are really good. They come with a 5-year, 100,000 kilometer warranty, and these companies have been around long enough that they're going to honor that warranty. So yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting time when all of a sudden, you can get the same quality. Like, I mean, normally I would like to have a Toyota Prado, which is like the Land Cruiser down here. And that's become an $80,000 to $100,000 car easily. It's a SUV. And the version, there's a GAC Chinese version that they copied it. And it's not cheap. It's 39,000 starts at, but it's pretty much the same vehicle and it's half the price. So it's pretty amazing.
Absolutely. Okay. Tom would like to know, what is the protection against flippers who buy but do not build within the 2-year time frame? Can the parcel be sold without their permission? Walk us through. I know you talked about it before, but talk about it again.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really finish that thought. What you're signing in the contract is we have the right to buy back the lot at the price you paid for it after 2 years if we so choose to exercise that option. Like I said, we're not trying to be onerous about this at all. We'd want to work with you if something financially changed or whatever changes in your life and you can't start construction of a home within 2 years. We're not going to be that, those people about it, right? But the protection for us to create a community is that we can buy it back from you. So that's basically it. You're not out anything. You won't have gotten the capital gains. Obviously, we expect that if we bought a lot back from you in a couple of years, it's probably have gone up in value. But that's just the fact. That's our protection against having a community.
Nice. I think, by the way, we can probably turn off the slide so people can see us a little bit better, because I think everybody should have by now the expat@ecovillages.life. I know some emails are still coming in. If you guys are interested, what I want you to do is send an email, expat@ecovillages.life, not .com, .life. Send us an email, include your phone number, and wait for a call back. We're going to continue with Q&As for a while. We still have a lot of people live on the call, Pat, a lot.
Great.
So I know people are very interested in this.
It's exciting that people are hanging on here for 2 hours. That's great.
We're coming on 3 hours now, aren't we? We're about to throw. Yeah, exactly. Is the solar system able to power a dishwasher?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what most people do, even whether they don't have solar systems, is they unplug the heating elements because you don't really need to have the water that hot. It comes out of the tap pretty warm already. So, but you can, yeah. I mean, things that run short periods of time. Look, we're putting in some substantial solar systems that would blow people's mind away, compared to the systems that you're used to. The kind of systems we're putting in here would cost, $50,000 plus in the US or Canada. So it's the fact that, one of the things that we're able to do because of that is because of our location is we're not very far from the Panama Canal. And there's a ton of stuff that gets shipped through the Panama Canal. And for them to stop and, drop off some solar panels and things like that, we get some of the best rates in the world to put these systems together, and we're taking advantage of that. We're putting in, some of the larger homes will have 60 kilowatt hour batteries. I mean, that's 60,000 watts. To put in perspective, a really abusive home in the U.S. on average, 3-bedroom home with all the air conditioning and leaving the doors open and electric stove and electric dryer and all those things and dishwashers and all that, will use roughly 30 kilowatts a day. Well, our base system is going to have over that. And so, you would, and plus to have a generator backup for if some reason we get 4 solid days of rain or something like that, it'll click on in 3 hours. Those silent generators, you don't even know they come on. They're auto start. Battery voltage drops to a certain level. They start, charges it up, and they turn off. And that's going to happen very seldomly with these size systems. So, but we want to make sure it's bulletproof. Like there's no time that you're down. Right. So yeah, we've got a lot of experience with this, and that's why we're doing a lot of testing now. And it's fun for me because I enjoy playing around with that stuff, but it's also a little bit, time consuming because the systems change, monthly. Like we just got some new panels in that are even better, 610 watt panels that are 25 year guaranteed. Crazy thing is Canadian Solar is a company. It's a Canadian company called Canadian Solar. And we get them here for a better price than you can buy them in Canada. So.
Too funny. Yeah, taxes, tariffs, things like that. Okay, I've got a question here about, well, I can answer this one. Okay, people are wanting to see some videos, some photos, some ground shoots, things like this. What I would say is if you guys send us an email, expat@ecovillages.life, more than happy to share with you lots of this type of stuff. So you can see real photos of anything like that. Same as we said before, if you want to come down and see the project in advance, come down and see it. We can't promise that Pat's going to be on site, but someone will be on site to show you around and come and see these things. Like, absolutely, we want you to see, different milestone photos. We got drone footage. We've got lots of stuff. So send us an email and we'll get that all over to you ASAP. All right. I had some questions about opportunities for employment or earning an income in the area. My suggestion on this one would be if you can work remotely, or if you can get hired from a company, or you can use upwork.com and be a freelancer, or you have an online business or something like that, then Panama is perfect. Local wages in Panama are not very high, and you would need to be native level or extremely high Spanish to kind of get a good local job. Now, saying all of that, maybe there's possibilities if you have a background that, there's things that, you can find other expats who are looking for people to work with. There might be opportunities, but if you're just going for a normal office job here in Panama, I think you're not going to be happy with the prices.
Yeah, and we're expanding as a company too. So sometimes there's opportunities with us. If you know a lot about permaculture, especially tropical permaculture, that's an area where we're going to be hiring some more people for expanding that area. So there's different things. I actually did a podcast. If you go to ecovillages.life, I know you talk about this more than I do, Mikkel, and have a lot more professional podcasts than mine. But we do a little ecovillages.life podcast on YouTube as well on our channel. And I did one on employment ideas basically for expats that move away. So there might be something interesting in there for people as well.
Okay. Some people are asking about insects and things like this. Harry wanted to know about insect risk, stuff like that.
Well, I've been sitting here outdoors for whatever it's been, almost 3 hours, and I haven't seen an insect. But I mean, there's insects. There's no doubt about it. We're in the tropics. But I mean, growing up in Canada, there was far more insects. In fact, it's kind of strange. When I first moved to Nicaragua, when I moved down to Central America many years ago, and nobody had screens on their windows. They just opened their windows, and there was no screens on them. And I was like, well, what about all the bugs? And it's like, well, there are not really that many bugs. I mean, not that many flying bugs and things like that. So there's everything has its time. Like it's interesting. Like the house flies were a couple of weeks ago for about 2 weeks. Right when the rainy season starts is when the insects sort of go through their cycle. So you get a couple of ones that you don't like the no-see-ums and the house flies and things like that. And then you get the butterflies and you get the dragonflies, and they all have their own season, and it seems to be like 2 weeks, like they've all decided this is our time to shine. And you just go through that, and it all happens kind of between May and July. And then after that, there's hardly any bugs. With the dry season, it's not, and I'll admit that, the closer you are to the stream here, which is more important, that there's more mosquitoes closer to the stream. Obviously, they like the water, but that it's not really an issue. Like I was working down there for a good part of yesterday on the roads and things like that, and I didn't have any problems. So right after the rain start in May, yeah, there's some bugs around. My least favorite are the what are they called? The June bugs. They're like flying marbles. Like they have zero brains, and they're like marbles being thrown at you. And the frogs love them, because the toads come out and they eat them up like crazy. But they're not. That's my least week or two of the year, because I used to live in Texas too, and we got them there as well. But the season for June bugs, it's actually May, I guess, because it's a little earlier than in North America. But yeah, it's not really a bug problem. We put screens in all the windows in our homes, but that's just mostly because North Americans, Europeans, Australians think, well, what are you cheapening out? And I put screens in, and says, well, a lot of, like, our windows are all open. My door is open over here. I don't worry about bugs going into the house during the day. So.
Well, I have a client who was mentioning going through the property, I think it was last time or maybe the time before, that they're really into birding, and there was like so many species of birds and stuff like that out on the property. So I think birds also help with a lot of the bugs. There's an ecosystem here, so they help deal with a lot of that for us. Okay, Phil would like to know.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, Pat, go ahead.
Sorry. I was just going to comment on the birds. There's so many different birds here. Like I had a quetzal yesterday, which is, I believe, the Panamanian national bird, just flew up on the railing here on the deck, and they're generally pretty scared of people, right? And he just flew in here, and they're beautiful, huge tail and everything, and like I said, parakeets and budgies and parrots and things like that. So it's pretty. If you're a bird watcher, you'd love it here. I mean, there's so many different types of birds.
Nice. Phil would like to know, do the tiny and mid-size homes have their own garage or driveway to park a vehicle?
Well, we'll cut a driveway into the property, but most people use a carport or just don't have anything at all, in this region. But you're more than welcome. We can add a garage to it. I think we had some quotes for somebody else the other day on the prices of garages, and Spencer knows those numbers better than I do. But, we have a carport here. In fact, I think on the first screen that we started with this introduction here, the presentation was a picture of the carport, just because it had the wisteria vines growing over it with flowers and things like that. But it's like you're not worried about it being cold or anything, so you're not getting into your garage to keep the frost off your windows or anything like that. So we do get the rains, but I actually like it when it rains. I don't have to wash my car again the next day. So.
Cool. Some questions about security systems. A quick note from my side. I have multiple firearms. I have my concealed carry license. You can absolutely own guns as a foreigner here in Panama. I help my clients go through that. Yeah. Comments on security, Pat?
Well, we're going to have security full time on the property anyway, but like I said earlier, it's a bit more for people's peace of mind than necessary. We have that in some of the other communities too, where we never get broken into, but the guys are there to make people feel good about it. Yeah, Spencer and I went out to our neighbor's gun range across the way from Veritas Village here the other day, and I also have my gun licenses down here, and so it was kind of fun shooting some shots off.
Absolutely. Okay. Some questions on golf course. This is actually from way before. I should have got to this one before. I'm kind of jumping around here. Golf courses. Also, can you talk about the new racetrack, which was 20 minutes away or something like that, for people who are into that?
Yeah, I believe there's two. I'm not much of a golfer. I'm not very good at it, so I don't do it that often. But there are two golf courses within about 20 minutes of here. And I think there's two more just a little bit further away. There's a number. I think I mentioned the Rio Hato Airport, the direct flights from Toronto. So they have like Sunwing and Transat, I think the two chartered airlines that come directly from Canada. And they bring people, just churn them every day for a couple of weeks in vacation mode, just like, the towns in Mexico do. and that's within 30 or 40 minutes. And a lot of those resorts that those people go to have golf courses, so you can go there and golf. So yeah, you've got a lot of options very close by here for golf. For me, what's exciting is the new racetrack. It's up to GT level racing. It's pretty cool. Mikkel, you and our family went. We got kind of locked out of the racetrack because we got there late, and I bought pit passes, so we were able to go into the center. But you have to cross the track to get into the pits, and they were running behind, so they just ran one race after another. And we sat in the lineup watching the race from the car for most of it. But we eventually got in the pits, and it was kind of cool.
We had the AC going, and it was fun. Yeah, I still enjoyed myself.
Probably more comfortable than being in the bleachers, but I thought it was good. We had truck stop food in there and stuff. That was good too. But anyway, yeah, I'm really excited about that because I've always been into kind of amateur racing. I used to have a Viper with nitrous and blower and everything. And so I was into some interesting types of racing. And I'm really looking forward to, if I ever get the time of day not to be doing communities all day long, then I'm going to get a car here. It's only 20 minutes away to this new track. And, every week they've got some really cool racing going on. And I think you can get a membership. Don't quote me on this, but I think it's $1,500 for a year. And if you get a membership at a racetrack in the US or something, it's more like $40,000 or $50,000 a year. So it's radically less expensive to get into racing down here if that's something you want.
Stacy, this is also a question from 2 hours ago, but I'm just getting to it now. Sorry, Stacy. She says, I might have missed it, but are pets allowed like dogs? A quick one from you, a quick one from my side before you comment. Yes, you can have pets, but we've never really talked about this pet. I don't personally want like massive, scary dogs like running around and going crazy or anything like that. I got bit by a dog when I was in Costa Rica. I like dogs very much, but just like show respect, still libertarianism, show respect to your neighbors. I would say absolutely dogs are allowed, but just be respectful. I don't want to get bit by a dog again. It's not fun.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, keep your dog at home or on a leash or when you're walking around or whatever. That just be, like you said, respectful. I mean, you also don't want your dog to wander off. It's pretty interesting areas for dogs here. They just keep going and they get lost, and then that can happen. We have actually adopted 2 dogs here. So in fact, I was getting distracted by one of them. Their names are Jeffrey and Norman. And Jeffrey came up to here. And I used to have 2 fish named Jeffrey and Norman when I was a kid. So I decided to reuse those names. Anyway, they were bugging me before. So they're hungry now and it's lunchtime for them. So, but yeah, there's, definitely pets, and you can have like your dog runs or whatever in your yard and that sort of thing. But just be like the libertarian motto, be respectful of the people around you.
But absolutely. We love pets. Pets are awesome. No problem there. Just be respectful. And I think we can all agree that it's good.
My mother was a avid bird watcher, and I ended up having basically the orphaned and abandoned animals everybody brought to me when I was a kid. So I'm looking forward to actually maybe creating a parrot and sanctuary here where, bird gets hit by a car or something, but still needs some recuperation time and stuff. Then, I used to do that with owls and hawks and things in Canada. And now it would be more like toucans and things like that down here. So.
Someone is asking, how big is Veritas? What is it? 55 acres, Pat?
Yeah, just a little bit over, around 50 acres. So,
Rosie would like to know, can you comment on the humidity?
Well, this time of year when the rain started, it is pretty high humidity. Again, we're in a drier area of Panama in general, and we're in a higher elevation, so it's definitely less humid. I mean, yesterday I had to run down to the hardware store down in Coronado by the beach. And the moment you step out of the car, you feel the difference. So the temperature's higher and it's way more humid. But that's not to say it's not humid right now. Like this, and then take a break. And then again in October is the high humidity time. Like you're in the 90s sometimes in humidity, but a lot of the year it's quite dry. So we have 2 seasons. It's dry and it's green. Those are what we call the 2 seasons. And right now, this is the lush time of year. It gets very, very green because of the rains. And when the rains stop in November or December, the grass will brown and everything goes into a more of a dormant period. The trees are still green, but you get 2 different seasons. Temperature-wise, it's pretty equal. I mean, an average day at the beach is 33, 34 Celsius. So in your high 80s, low 90s, and then down to mid 70s, low 80s, basically at the beach, which is, call it 26, 27 Celsius. And then dial that down here at Veritas down to, 28 degrees is a pretty common day. It's warm enough in Celsius, so call that in the 80s, warm enough to use your pool and stuff. Nobody heats their pools here. And then at night, yesterday night it was 22. That's a really comfortable, like that's basically 73, 74 degrees. That's like room temperature. So, I had the air conditioner on just because of the humidity to dry it a little bit. And then I turned it off because it was nice and cool all night.
Beautiful. Phil is asking about hurricane threats, like in Florida. So Panama, we don't get hurricanes because the country goes east-west. Last presentation I did on Panama for a different project, I actually had one of my clients who really knows their stuff. They came on and they were like showing links. Historic, like through recorded history, Panama has never had a hurricane. Never, ever had a hurricane. So these things that you just saw that was going on, I had partners in Jamaica and Barbados and Cayman and all of these types of things. They got hit by the hurricane. I don't even think it rained here. Like we had nothing in Panama at all. So we don't have to worry about hurricanes in this country.
Yeah, and not only the east-west thing, because the water surges kind of blow along the shoreline rather than up against it, so you don't get that damage. But you just don't get hurricanes coming this far south. Basically, Honduras is about where they stop. Sometimes northern Nicaragua, if you're familiar with Central America. We have a community in Belize that does get hurricane hit. We have to put in Category 5 windows and that sort of thing. But here, no, you don't get hurricanes. Get some fun lightning storms. That's fun to watch. That reminds me of my childhood on the prairies here.
Me too. In Ontario, one of my fondest memories is being out back of my house. My father would wake me up, at midnight or something like that to watch the thunderstorms and, under a tin roof and just kind of listening to the rain and hanging out with him for half an hour or something like that. And here in Panama, like I lived in the desert for almost a decade. So when I came to Panama, we had these dramatic, romantic thunderstorms and heavy rain. I was like, I'm in heaven. Like this is just transports me back. Even today, I've been here for 5 years and I just go crazy for it. So,
yeah, well, it was really cool here the other night. It was Thursday night and we had a lightning storm and they were like right around us, right? It was the lightning strike and the thunder was at the same time. It was just instant and booming. And all of a sudden the transformer on the road got hit and the electrical transformer. And of course, everybody's lights around the neighborhood goes out. And not me. I was on our own little grid here, and it was pretty cool to be able to just. I kept watching the sports game and everything, and for everybody else that wasn't on a solar system was out of power. In fact, in our community in Nicaragua, we have the same thing where we have solar powered homes, and when their power goes out there, everybody comes over and wants to charge their phones and their laptops because we're the only ones with power.
Nice. I've got a couple of questions about like logistically, where are the solar panels? We have a solar panel bed. They go on the roofs. They're individual. Talk us through going back to solar panels again.
Our experience, we've tried a few different things over the years, and our experience is it's best for everybody to have their own solar system. And you could do some, net tying together with your neighbors if you wanted to do that, but you don't have to. Most of the panels will go on the roof. You can use a lot less panels when you're down in this area of the world. Obviously, the closer you get to the equator, the more powerful the sunlight is. It's going straight over top and not bouncing along the horizon like it does in North America or Europe. And so we get extreme amounts of power, and our panels are very efficient. So we don't have that many panels. I have 12 panels powering this house. And like I said, by 10 or 11 in the morning, it's charged up. 20 kilowatt hours of battery power. So it's a lot of power. And, you can put in pergolas. Like a lot of people like to put a shady area over their pool, going to have some of the pool in the sunlight, some with a pergola over top. That's a great place to put panels too. A carport, any kind of places where you want to put panels. You want to aim, we know all the different logistics of them here, but we aim them typically a little bit to the north, because even though the sun is on the south of us more of the year, it's also the time where it's the dry season, where you get way more sun during the day. So when you do get the rainy season, it's better to angle them a little bit towards where the sun is during that season. So there's all these little tricks and things that we've learned over the years to maximize these systems. But yeah, we've looked at doing solar farms before, but we had a lot of people, strangely enough, complaining like, John's using more power than I am. This isn't fair and everything. So we just decided, make everybody's system their own. And they're becoming so reliable and well built now that it's just nice to have your own system.
Nice. I've got another one from Anonymous. Sorry if I missed it, but did you already address access to healthcare?
Yeah, I briefly flipped by a couple of the slides there, where there's a hospital in the area. There's a number of clinics. Healthcare is extremely inexpensive down here. Andrea, my wife, is a doctor, so we have health insurance, annual health insurance that we get. It's very inexpensive, and the only reason for that is really that we have to travel a lot into the U.S. and other areas, so that if something ever happens, that we have that health insurance. If you're staying here all the time, it's pretty hard to spend the amount of money on healthcare that the insurance costs. So, I could tell lots of different stories. One of my favorite, well, just a few weeks ago, months ago now, that I had eye surgery to get new lenses put in my eyes, and I had to get a blood test. And I happened to be here at Veritas, so I went to the clinic in Coronado and got blood tests and a couple other things. And I think it was $14. So it's like a nominal amount, good checkups and things like that. And I had kidney stones in Nicaragua, and I'll make a long story short. I had a house call from a doctor. Then I went into the clinic the next day, saw 2 urologists, got blood tests, ultrasounds, all sorts of tests. They gave me the medication to clear the stone. I didn't have to get it operated on. And that was all $58 all combined. So, and just one more story. I have hypertension, so I have to take this pill once a day. And in Canada, well, that was 15 years ago in Canada, but in Canada it was $90 a month. So not the end of the world, right? $3 a day for this pill. And I came down here and I buy change pills. But at the time I buy the pills down here, they gave me this big bag of pills that lasted like 6 months. And I think it was, I don't know, $9 or something like that. And it was like, it worked out to be minuscule. And I looked at the pills, and they were made in the same factory in Canada that the Canadian pills are. It was exactly the same pill. So how can they ship it down here, have a bunch of middlemen in between, offer it to me for 15 cents a pill, and charge me $3 a pill in Canada? It's just, to me, it's ridiculous. It's the same company making the same pills in the same factory. So medical care and medication is a lot less expensive down here. And the nice thing about it is you don't need a prescription for 99% of it. Narcotics you need a prescription for, but other than that, pretty much get anything you want.
You can get ivermectin at the, over the counter, easy peasy. So, pretty funny, pretty on these things. I was kind of thinking about stories that I have from the healthcare side. If you guys go listen to a podcast episode we did in February where I was in the emergency room, my then pregnant wife was in the emergency room. She was like 8 months pregnant at that time. And then my other 2 kids were in the emergency room. I think, I can't even remember what it was. I think 5 visit to emergency private room, all the tests, everything like that was $1,200 or something. Total, not per person, but total. I think it was $1,200 or $1,100 for 5 visits. We were there for hours and hours. We were really sick. Like, I was so sick, horrible. But I talk about the medical facilities in detail in that episode from February. And I got a lot of comments on that. People couldn't believe the prices and the level of care. Side note, all the doctors, well, not all, but call it every single doctor I've met in Latin America or in Panama speaks amazing English. So, don't worry if your Spanish is not yet at a great level. In an emergency situation, there's always someone who speaks English down here.
Well, and for the Canadians out there, I don't know for some of the other countries, but as a Canadian, the healthcare is brutal. I'm sorry. It's just the time to get an appointment can be months. Here, if I call at 10 a.m. to a doctor and say, hey, I'm not feeling well, I want to see you, I'll see them within a couple hours. And you'll get so much better care. They treat you like a human being and not a number. And it's like they genuinely care about their patients, and they want like you to refer other people to them, because that's, it's like a real business for them, right? I mean, they have to care about you. It's not anything like the Canadian healthcare. Like my kidney stone story. I had kidney stones in one kidney in Nicaragua, and I had kidney stones in the other kidney in Canada. And I tell you, if I ever get kidney stones again, I'm flying down to this region if I'm getting them somewhere else to get care, because I'm never going through that experience again I had in Canada. It was like brutal. And so I have so many stories of the Canadian healthcare, and everybody thinks, oh, but Canadian healthcare is free. It's not. First of all, you're paying for taxes, which are not down here. And secondly, it's not good.
Yep, exactly. It's don't get me into Canadian healthcare. We'll have to do another webinar about that. I'll go on for like a half a day about that. Okay, moving on. Harry would like to know, are there any cell towers nearby? If so, what is the distance between them and Veritas?
They're in Coronado and about 10 kilometers, so 6 miles away, which is partly the reason. And we're up 1,000 feet, they're down. There's a number of hills and valleys in between. So it's, that can be considered an upside or a downside. If you like to have connectivity outside of your home, it's not so great because there's just very little signal up here. And there's a few places like where our water tower is going is the high point on the community. I can sometimes get a signal up there, but where I'm sitting right now, there's no cell signal whatsoever on my phone. So I have great internet, but no cell signal.
That's the way it works. Sometimes you have to give up one thing to get something else.
But most people I've found have preferred that. They're not walking out 500 feet from their home and worrying about their cell signal. They're liking the fact that they're not being bombarded by 5G signals and stuff like that.
Okay. Will there be a recording of this presentation available for me to share with others? Yes. So everybody who's recorded, you guys, or who's registered, will get a copy of the recording. It takes us a few hours to render the video, especially on a big one like this. We'll put it up as fast as we can. My wife does a lot of the video editing, so she'll be working on this afternoon. And then absolutely, if you want to share this with like-minded friends and families, colleagues, other people from your community who, think could benefit from this, absolutely share it around with them. We're happy to get lots of cool people in the community. As I mentioned before, my guess would be in the next week to 10 days that pretty much all these lots will be gone. So, explain to them if this is something they're interested in, to watch the presentation as soon as they get it. Don't put it off for a couple of weeks, because I can just really see a world where these won't be around for much longer. So just judging by the interest level today, let's say. Okay, I think we've done the majority of the questions, Pat. There's lots of repeat questions. I don't really want to keep repeating the same things. If you guys feel like your question didn't get answered, then what I want you to do is go back and watch the presentation, because I think pretty much everything was covered. I'm scrolling through these.
I'm not sure if I mentioned it or if I just thought I mentioned it, but I'm just going to mention one more thing. We're going to create basically the Veritas Village Club, or the family. And if you're a resident in any of the Veritas villages, you have discounts and, at the restaurants or accommodations and things at other Veritas villages around the region once they're created. We're looking in Mexico, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Argentina. I want to do a vineyard version of Veritas Village, excuse me, in Argentina, the Mendoza area. And they'll just keep expanding. And so, if you like the idea of living among like-minded people and then maybe vacationing among like-minded people so you can relax on your vacation too, that's something that, another perk for being a resident in one of the Veritas villages.
Absolutely. We've got big plans for this, but this is going to be the flagship program. Also, I will comment that the prices are very attractive in this one. These are luxury homes, amazing amazing land like the plot. When you guys see it, your head's going to explode. The prices are attractively priced right now. Obviously, as things get built, prices go up. So, don't delay. As more communities come online, as the Veritas Club expands into different countries, prices will go up. So people are always rewarded for being like a first mover in these types of things. So get in sooner rather than later. Okay, let's do the last questions, and also let us know, guys, in the comments. Was today's presentation valuable? Did you guys learn lots? We tried to answer as many questions as possible. Giving up the Saturday, I'm super grateful for everybody who gave up their Saturday to join us for this. I hope it was worth your time. I hope you're as excited and pumped about the program as we are. So kind of leave me a comment or question in the questions and answers box, and make sure you guys send an email with your phone number. Turn your phone on so that you can get a call back from Sarita and Andrea this afternoon. I'm sure they're very busy over there, and we're going to do lot selection, and it's going to be good. So put your last couple of questions, put some things in there, and let's see what we got. Okay, Deborah says, many thanks. This sounds like a wonderful community and an ideal option for freedom-loving individuals. I look forward to watching the video to see what I missed. Amazing. Deborah, we're super happy to have you part of the community.
There's also
Mike would like
a message about prices and stuff like that. There's a brochure when you email. I'm sure Andrea and Sarita are going to be sending you the full brochure. It has links to the map and as that. I'm not sure if we're going to keep up with it, but as the lots get spoken for, we're going to update the map. So, you'll be able to see the lot prices, the home prices, and which lots are available.
Yeah, I think that one's from Mike, right? Where can I find the lot prices? So if you send us an email, expat@ecovillages.life, we'll get you all of the lot prices so you understand what we're talking about. Charlotte says, I paid my $2,500 reservation fee. Do I need to have a telephone today? No, you don't have to. If you got things to do, go out and do that. If you've put down your $2,500, then you can go and enjoy your weekend. And this week you'll be able to schedule a call to do lot selection and choose which lot is right for you. And home prices. Yes, Mike, also home prices will be emailed to you if you email us. We're going to get you guys everything. There's tons of stuff, but you just need to put your hand up, send an email, and we'll get you all of those types of things. Erico says, totally worth it. This is very valuable and was amazing to spend the day with you in this amazing presentation. Thank you very much for joining us, Erico. Daryl says, excellent presentation, guys. Thanks for this. Okay, David says, Zach and Shay here. I think they're using someone else's Zoom. Zach and Shay here. We are super pumped and so glad we met Liz and Mike, who told us about y'all. We already called in and are in number 2 in line for a lot choice. Good for you. That's awesome. How to choose. There's so many options. Ocean views, mountain views, near the wooded area, near the creek. Difficult to decide. I know there's going to be so many cool options, and it's depending on what you want, but we're going to help you with all of that kind of stuff.
And be rest assured, there is no bad lot. I mean, Andrea and I have chosen a lot, but it was not an easy decision. There's still a number of lots that I really think are amazing, and there's really, I've been now on every one of the lots, and yesterday evening I even went for a walk onto a number of lots that I hadn't been on for a while, and just thought, wow, it's another sleeper lot, beautiful location, views near the creek or whatever it is that so even if you choose a lot. Now, this is, I'll say something, I don't know if it's going to be possible, but if you choose a lot on like next week without seeing it, and then you come out here and there's still any available lots and you want to switch, we can do that. Obviously, I'm not expecting a lot of available lots though. So it is important to have those calls with our team next week and make sure you get the best choice for yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. And another thing to point out, what might be a good lot for you is a terrible lot for somebody else. It's different strokes for different folks. You know, some people want to have these views and that's the most important thing to them. Others want to be kind of at the back and want more privacy and, you know, secluded. And for them, that's heaven, right? So whatever you guys are after, my guess is that there's going to be a lot that's going to fit you. So what I consider the best lot, what Patrick considers the best lot, might be in line with you, might not. So the best way to do is to get on a phone call with the team and describe to them what really matters to you. And then they're going to help you in a selection process to find, you know, your perfect lot that's going to make sense for you. Okay. So make sure you send us an email and we're going to help you through this. Okay, someone says, I missed the presentation. Can I watch it later as a recording? Absolutely. I'm going to get this out to you ASAP. My wife's got her work cut out for her this afternoon, and she was going to do the video editing. We're going to render it, and I'll send it out. Actually, if you guys want to go to expatmoney.com/webinars, then that's where the recording will be. I'm going to put it up on there as soon as we have it, so you can refresh that every hour or something, and we'll do that. Okay.
I noticed somebody asking about the thing I mentioned earlier about the YouTube show. If you go onto YouTube and to the account ecovillages.life, ecovillages.life, that's our channel. And on our channel, scroll down, you'll see one of the podcasts is about, you know, I think it's called something like, you know, what can I do for a living, or how can I make money as an expat living in another country? I think you'll find it kind of interesting.
Nice. Mike wants to know, is the creek large enough to fish in?
Not unless you're fishing for minnows. It's a pretty small creek. It is year round, but we're going to have the tilapia pond and a dock goes on it and a little rowboat in there. So if you like fishing for tilapia, that's a good thing to do. There's some great deep sea fishing here there's a marina 20 minutes away from here. I'm actually thinking of moving my boat from the city to out here, and there's amazing fishing out here. I know some of our friends, Mikkel, and have gone on some of these deep sea fishing trips and been, you know, now they've got these massive swordfish on their walls and stuff like that. But there's lots of cool spots for fishing.
Well, that's a good idea too with the boat, because we just got a new boat as well. So we'll be able to go from the city out to Coronado and then 15 minutes up the road, and we'll be at Veritas. So I don't have to do the traffic or anything. Not that it's that bad. I mean, as long as you time it properly, you're looking at an hour and 10 minutes to Veritas from downtown Panama City. But still be cool to boat out there.
Within a year, I'd say the freeway will be done. The freeway goes to Coronado, and like I said, then it's a 10-minute drive off of the freeway to where we're at. But they're putting not only the freeway, which will help a lot with the cars, but they're also putting in a metro, like a rail system all the way out to about halfway out to here. Some of the communities out there that have, the bottleneck is the Bridge of Americas over the canal. That's where everybody has to leave the city to come to this side. And so once that metro stations are in, that's going to take a ton of traffic off of that route. And not only that, there's going to be a lot less car, or a lot more room for the cars to go. So it's going to be, I mean, I can already get here some days in under an hour, but I'm sure it's going to be down to like less 45 minutes, maybe, once that freeway is done.
Amazing. So a question on how many lots. There's 87 lots. That's the total number of lots, right, Pat?
Yes, as of today.
Okay. So when I was saying before 100, 110, I think I was a little bit generous with that, but also think that some people will buy a lot and put more than one home on it. I already have some people who clients who are going to buy a larger lot and put 3 or 4 homes on it because, you know, the matriarch or the patriarch wants to buy for their kids, but they don't necessarily want everyone living under one roof. So you can imagine one large lot and 3 smaller homes on it. It's not going to be crowded. This is not high density housing or anything like that. Each house is going to be unique, but there will be lots who will have more than one home on it. And that's absolutely you have the option of doing these things. So you could still probably think at, what would your guess be? Around 100 houses, Pat? Maybe 105?
Yeah, probably a little bit over 100, I would guess.
Yeah, somewhere around that. So a good size community. This is not a massive, 6,000 home type of one. These are not cookie cutter houses all done exactly the same. This is unique. It's bespoke. It's luxury. These are luxury homes. Every lot is a little bit different. A lot of character in this, let's say, a lot of character. And this is exactly the type of project that we like doing and that I want to live in, and that Pat, I believe, wants to live in as well. Okay. Any comments on the neighboring properties for the lot edges? Like, what do our neighbors look like so you can kind of understand?
To the south, to the south facing Coronado or the ocean, that's basically a ridge. It drops off. Other than a couple of the lots that have a little bit more of a plateau that goes on to, where the neighbors own the property. After that, it's really, you don't really have any neighbors there because it drops down a couple hundred feet down to the road. On the more northwestern side, which is the top of the master plan map, it's a cattle ranch. So it's open, and that's the area that I kind of said looks like the Shire from Lord of the Rings, very green hills that go on there, and then behind that are the taller mountains. So it's very pretty in all directions. It's, it's farming area, right? So there's ranches and farms, and it's no density. There's small villages around Cabuya, Los Pozos, all these little, local villages. We're actually probably tomorrow or Monday, we bought a solar system for one of the local villages that that doesn't have any well. The whole village doesn't have a proper well, and during the dry season they had no water. So we drilled the well last week. We're putting a solar system in this next week so that they'll have water year round, and they don't have to use any electricity to get it. And they're pretty excited. We put the tanks there last week, and they're just chomping at the bit to have nice spring fed water for the town. I mean, imagine you're living in a village and you have to walk with water jugs for a couple miles.
Okay. I think we're pretty much done the questions. Bobby says, thank you. Wonderfully planned. Emailing you. Nice. Deep appreciation for the brilliant presentation. Fully inspired, from Jonathan. Lots of thank yous in here. I think this is good. All right, let's wrap it up here. We just hit the 3.5 hour mark. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today on the live presentation. Pat, do you want to put up one last time the email address on your slides? expat@ecovillages.life. expat@ecovillages.life. If you guys want more information, if you want to see some videos, some slides, if you want to see the home prices, the lot prices, anything like that, go to expat@ecovillages.life. Pat, thanks so much for your time today. Have a great rest of the day.
Hey, Mikkel, I really appreciate it. And I appreciate everybody that's been on the call, taking a lot of time out of your weekend. And it's very rewarding for us to see the level of interest. And I'm looking forward to many of you being neighbors. So this is an exciting time. So thank you.
100%. Looking forward to seeing you guys at Veritas real soon. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much. Have a great day.